Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be on right now. It's been a couple of weeks of excitement getting prepared, and I've done a lot of things in my life, but this has got to be close to the top.
Thank you, and Reader's Magnet, and thank you, John, for putting this forth and taking the chance on us authors in presenting this out to the world.
I've enjoyed this immensely, Joanne.
Ellie, so have I. Thank you for who you are, and thank you, Reader's Magnet. You all are beautiful, and you've worked so very hard, and we are blessed.
We are.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process, because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers. We thank Reader's Magnet and everybody that's involved. I love Reader's Magnet. They say, we share your stories with the world.
Hey, how you doing? Happy Thursday to you. I would like to welcome you to our interactive chat here. I'm Joseph GIAMPAPA, and I think you know who you are. So let's get started. By the way, happy Veterans Day. I'm a veteran, and I'm very honored to be part of the group. I thank all my brother and sister veterans, and all those who came back, and especially indebted to those who did not. So again, happy Veterans Day. We're here today to talk about my books. And actually, I say books because I have written 3 of them. This one is the, here we go. This is the main one called What I Will, I Can. Okay, all 3 books deal with self-empowerment. Okay, which is really, or self-actualization, whatever you want to call it. But basically, what these books do, like I say, this is number 1, What I Will, I Can. The second one, Unleash the Super You Within. And the third one, Tools for Life. Each one of these has a specific purpose, but they all deal with self-actualization. Okay, what we're finding now, unfortunately, I had a private practice for years, and unfortunately, I find so many people now are seeing themselves basically as victims, as powerless, if you will. Okay, and nothing could be further from the truth, because we come into this world with such potentiality, so many good qualities and talents and all kinds of things that we can use, but we tend to bury it and forget about it a lot of times. As Zig Ziglar said one time, one of the great motivators, he said, it's so sad that so many people go to their graves with their songs unsung. Wow, think about that. How sad. How sad that is, because you are filled with so much potentiality, and we don't know all that you're capable of doing, and neither do you until you go for it. It's really sad that a lot of people don't try. Absolutely. You know, we have all of this good potentiality inside of us, all this good stuff, if you will, but a lot of us kind of ignore it. I've had people come into my office and stuff, 30, 35 years old, saying, "Oh, my life sucks. It's over. Nothing left for me to do." Wow, how untrue. We need to learn to become our own best friend, to start to tap in to some of that potentiality. Okay, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So I'm open to any questions you might have. Please give me the questions, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. If you don't have a question, give me an answer. I need all the help I can get. Okay, we got one right here. It says, what advice can you give to couples to have a healthy and happy relationship? Ah, very good. this is interesting because I used to do relationship workshops. I created, probably about 15 years ago now, something I call a relationship tune-up kit. Okay, and basically what it amounted to were two little packets, little you might call them a little bullet. What do I want to say? I'm trying to pamphlets. That's the word. I created basically like two little pamphlets, one for one partner and one for the other partner. And what they were basically were sentence completion things like, for example, when you say this to me, it makes me makes me feel da 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 da, and you fill in the blanks. We tried this out in some of my 10-week relationship workshops, and man, it worked really fantastic. Made no difference whether a couple was married for 35 years or whether they were newlyweds or whatever. And the program even worked well for an employer and employee, or siblings, brothers, sisters, whatever. The key is communication. Okay, and what these little pamphlets did, what this communication thing did basically was help people to communicate and open up and tell their feelings and things. A lot of times what they would do, they would fill these out. Sometimes they would go each into their own room or something, or sit on opposite ends of the table and start filling it out and everything. And then later on they would exchange it and let the other person read their answers. And it was absolutely amazing because sometimes somebody would say, wow, I never knew you felt that way. And they say, well, you never asked. And that's the key. The key then to bringing people together in a healthy relationship is communication. Okay? You need to have that interchange. The more you communicate, the more you learn about your partner. Okay? And it doesn't mean you have to always agree on everything. I've got some beautiful, wonderful friends where sometimes we kind of are at opposite ends and we just literally agree to disagree. And that's it. And then we move on. You don't have to try to beat the person over the head with a 2x4, say you got to think like I think. No, but it's clear. It's wonderful to know how the other person's thinking. And that basically then that gives you more clarity and you can respond accordingly. And it brings a more cohesive relationship. Okay. So I hope I answered that. Basically, the key, if you will, to a good relationship, communication. Very, very important. Okay. Unfortunately, sometimes people don't want to communicate. And again, you can't hit them over the head with a 2x4 or something. You can't make them communicate if they won't. But most people, if you use the right tact or finesse or whatever, they're open to understanding a little more about their partner. I mean, let's face it, there was a reason the two people came together, right? Obviously, they want to learn a little more about each other. And the more we know about each other, the more harmonic the relationship can be. Does that make any sense? I hope so. Yeah, interesting. Another question. Is it okay to be dependent in your partner? Oh, interesting. I would have to say no. My personal feelings. Basically, a good relationship exists from two whole people coming together to form a third entity. Okay, I like to say 1 and 1 make 3. All right, it's like two beautiful whole notes coming together to form a beautiful chord. Okay, the chord is beautiful, sounds wonderful to your ears, yet if you separate the two notes, they're still wonderful and good by themselves. They are completely whole. Okay, when you are dependent on somebody, that's not really healthy. All right, I get people sometimes used to come to my office and say, oh, I found my other half. And I think, oh boy, lots of luck. Okay, we need to be able to stand on our own. That's what a good relationship is. A good relationship is two whole people coming together because they choose to come together, not because they want to change the other person or they want the other person to change them. No, we need to, when we form a relationship, it should be because we care for the other person, warts and all. Okay, just as you see them and as they are, you accept them for that. Again, 1 and 1 make 3. So in my opinion, no, you should not be dependent on anybody. Hopefully you'll be strong enough. That's what these books are all about. Claiming your independence, claiming your own power, your own talents. And we all have it. Everyone has it. There's no such thing as an insignificant human being. It simply doesn't exist. We all, every single human being, came into this world with all of this power, all of these talents, all of these skills, all of these traits. It's magnificent. If you really stop to think about it, you're a magnificent package. In essence, you're a gift to this world. That's what it's all about. Learn to tap into that, okay? Never see yourself as a victim or dependent on somebody else. You have everything within you to be very independent. Okay, and let me qualify this a bit. Okay, I don't want to get into religion here or anything like that, but I once had somebody say, oh boy, you must be a godless person talking about your power. We're nothing without God. God's got the power. Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about. Okay, if you look at it in one perspective, you could say God gave you all these talents and skills and potentiality. So that is in itself a gift from God. And now you are to share your gift with the world, okay? There's nothing wrong with being a powerful human being and realizing your worth, okay? So many people today see themselves as worthless, basically. And that's so sad. I worked for years with at-risk kids, abused women, recovering drug addicts, and so on and so forth. And so many of them just saw themselves as basically worthless. And that's so untrue. Because you are not what happens to you. Okay, it's almost like I was a teacher for years. You know, I worked at the university, high school, middle school, this kind of stuff. And sometimes you get a kid who would take a test and they would fail the test and they turn around and walk away saying, I'm a failure. No, you're not. You are not what you do or what happens to you. Okay, you are still this intelligent, beautiful being who just failed the test. Okay, you are not the thing. If you fail a test, you are not the failure. No, you're still this intelligent, beautiful being who failed a test. So don't confuse that stuff. Okay, we came into this world with such magnificence. There has never been, ever, another human being exactly like you. Isn't that magnificent? Think about that. And there never will be ever again. Wow, that makes you so special. Doesn't make you weird. It makes you absolutely unique, treasured, special. Think about that. Isn't it time you, with all your magnificence and uniqueness, that you share all this wondrous stuff that you are? And you are, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, you could go down the streets of LA, Chicago, New York, and see some homeless person, you know, living in a tent or some kind of shelter or something like that, and you think, wow, that guy's worthless. There's no such thing as an insignificant human being. They still have, each and every one of us still has all this potentiality inside of us. They're just choosing not to explore it or use it. Okay? Again, as I mentioned earlier, Zig Ziglar, great motivator, he said it's so sad that so many people go to their graves with their songs unsung. Wow, what a waste when you think about it. How many great inventions there could be, how much more harmony there could be, all this wonderful stuff if we brought out all that we were meant to be. But so many people are afraid to do it, frankly. And unfortunately, now going through all this COVID stuff and everything else, so many people see themselves basically as victims, and that's it. You know, like they can't do anything about anything. Well, I got to find out what to do next. No, all the answers are inside of you. Trust yourself. You've got more power than you think. You're an incredible human being. You know, it's interesting. I love biographies. I used to read biographies of all these different people and everything. And if you read biographies like Einstein, Edison, Tesla, some of these people, it's absolutely amazing because they virtually said, as a matter of fact, Einstein literally said one time, he said, I don't think of anything that I don't discover anything with my brain. He said, I take a nap or go to sleep and it comes to me. In other words, I get inspired. And then he said, when I wake up, then I use my brain to kind of basically, perfect it, if you will. Okay. But he doesn't use this to do the thinking and the creating. The inspiration is the creating aspect of our being. Okay, the brain just tempers it. So understand that. All of these guys, Edison, Tesla, Einstein, believe it or not, they all had cots in their offices, and they would take naps. I think it was Edison or Einstein, one of them or something, would take like 4 or 5 naps a day. And it wasn't because they were just lazy, but it's because they knew where a lot of the information came from. It comes from your higher self, from God, from the ether, the universe, whatever you want to call it. But they got inspired first, and then they would perfect it and temper it. Okay? So as they say, all the answers are inside of you. Learn to trust yourself. I think that's the biggest key. We need to learn to trust ourselves. Okay? A lot of times we don't believe we are as good as we are, and we are. It's interesting. Nelson Mandela, in his inaugural address, he said, our greatest fear is not that we're inadequate, but that we're more powerful than we can ever imagine. Think about that. That's the truth. We come into this world with all this skill and talent and everything, but we'll never know we have it unless we try. That's important. It's in there, like Prego spaghetti sauce. It's in there. That used to be their slogan, right? It's in there. Okay, same thing with you. You have all this potentiality inside of you, and it's magnificent. It's more so put together in such a way than any other human being on the face of this earth. You are so unique. A lot of people don't want to realize that. They don't buy into it, and that's sad, because we come into this world with so much to share. And a lot of us just kind of waste it, if you will. Okay, we don't believe in it. We see ourselves as victims. They can't do anything unless somebody tells them what to do or helps them to do it. Okay, I'm not saying you need to be an isolate and just, oh no, leave me alone, I could do everything myself. No. Part of that talent and everything is being wise enough to know that we work together. Okay, another question coming up. What is your view about a partner who doesn't want to communicate? But if you ask him why he's like that, he just replies, it's because that's who I am. Okay, that's kind of a rough one, because to me, in a relationship, as I mentioned earlier, the key is communication. However, you can't make the other person communicate if they don't want to. Okay, I mean, you can't hit them over the head with a 2x4 and say, okay, we're going to communicate. Unfortunately, in that circumstance, if the person says, that's who I am, I don't communicate, there's not really a whole bunch you can do. Hopefully, depending on your relationship with the person, if you're tactful enough, if you use the right kind of finesse or whatever, maybe you can help the person to open up a little bit. A lot of times, people will not communicate basically out of fear. Okay, they don't want to reveal too much of themselves because basically they're insecure, and heaven forbid they should say something and then you'll like them less, or you won't care for them anymore, or whatever. But a lot of people walk around with all this fear, so they don't want to open up. They walk around really guarded, and they don't share themselves. Okay, so I would recommend, certainly you want to kind of create a safe environment with the other person. Make sure that it's okay for them to open up and talk, that you won't correct them right away, or you won't reprimand them, or throw something out at them, or throw it in their face, 2 weeks later or something like that. If a person feels they're in a safe environment to communicate, they have a much greater tendency to communicate, obviously. Okay, so my answer to that, what would you do if the person says, I don't communicate, that's just who I am? That it's a hard one, but I'd say try to create a safe environment for the person to open up a little bit. And when they do, praise them for it. Okay, we all need that pat on the back saying, hey, that was really nice, thanks for sharing, whatever. Okay, it's interesting. We have another question coming in. Any inspirational message to all the people who always doubt themselves? Yeah, that's an interesting one. Okay, so many people see themselves and beat themselves down. I always tell people you have to learn to become your own best friend. Think how far you could go if you were your own best friend instead of your worst critic. But unfortunately, and we could get into that later, I blame a lot of that on Madison Avenue. They forever want us to compare. And when we try to compare it, it makes us feel inadequate. Okay. A person who basically doubts himself or something is a person who is buying into a lot of the Madison Avenue hype and everything. You know, commercials are built on that. You know, if you don't use the right hair color, you know, you're kind of worthless. If you don't use the right deodorant, shame on you, you're a nobody or whatever. You know, they're constantly telling us we need to have this product or that product to keep up with the Joneses, to be like everybody else. And the truth is, nothing could be worse from the truth. You don't want to be like everybody else. And you never will be. You'll forever be frustrated because you can't be like anybody else because you're a one of a kind. You're unique. And that doesn't make you a weirdo. It makes you incredibly wonderful, special, unique. Okay? So don't doubt yourself. No, seriously, and this is a fact. You came into this world with all this potential. It's all in there. You are your only limit. Understand that. If you say, I can't do it or something, what you're doing is actually programming yourself. You know, my books, again, talk about programming. And as a matter of fact, the books will help you reprogram your subconscious. Because we find that the subconscious is the programming aspect of your being. In other words, basically, they're finding like 80 to 90% of what you do today has been programmed yesterday and the day before and everything else into your subconscious. Now, this is interesting because I was going to finish my doctorate based on programming, working with the subconscious and everything. And during the 60s, I found a bunch of Russian studies. The Russians during the 60s were doing so much with mind control and programming and everything that when the Cold War ended, they shared a lot of this information with us. And it was magnificent, some of the discoveries they were making and everything. They were way ahead of us. And one of the key things is, and this is very important, they found out that when we're born, we come into this world with a matched set. Our voice is totally tied to our subconscious. Now that's very, very important. That should have been on the, on the headlines of every newspaper in America, but nobody even paid attention to it. Okay. What does that mean? It means, first of all, that we are audio programmable. And that, again, I said that our voice and our subconscious are tied together. In other words, an audio specialist could come with a tape recorder and have you record the phrase, pick up the book. So you say that. And then he gets 499 other people that sound to everybody else just like you. And they all record the same thing. And then he scrambles them all. And then you sit there and you listen to them. The moment you hear your particular voice, even though to everybody else they all sound the same, the moment you hear your particular voice, you're going to perk up. Okay? And that's important because we are audio programmable. Whatever, now this is key. Whatever you say with your mouth goes in your ear and programs you. And research now is bearing out that almost 85% of society tends to program themselves to fail every day of our life. Isn't that sad? And you say, well, how do they do that? Well, they do things like, oh, I don't know, maybe I could have done it when I was younger, but I'm older now, so I can't do it. Okay, you can't do it. You've just programmed yourself and told you can't do it. And that's your limit. Do you see that? So what I'm saying is we tend to put on all these self-imposed limits, which is so sad because the only limits you have are the ones that you put on you. And so when a person doesn't believe in themselves, when they have doubts and fears and things, basically it's because up until that time, for the most part in their life, they've been putting limits on themselves, telling themselves they can't do it. It's really sad because the subconscious, now this is a fascinating thing we have, the subconscious. When we discover what it's all about, we find out, number one, the subconscious never sleeps, okay? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 24/7. It's listening to anything that comes out of your mouth and it programs it. Next, we know it doesn't know a joke from reality. It doesn't know truth from falsehood. It doesn't know a lie from reality. Nothing like that. Whatever you say with your mouth goes in your ear and programs you, even if you are joking or jesting and you don't think anything of it. If you're saying it, it's programming you. Like, how many times have you heard a person say, "Oh man, I'm such a klutz. You know, I could be walking down the street and, or walking down somebody's house and trip over the pattern in linoleum, I'm such a klutz." Okay, you are a klutz, and you actually create the very thing you're talking about. So what I say, basically, you say, how could you stop always doubting yourself and everything else? Start to realize that you're programming yourself with everything you say, and stop saying anything negative about yourself if you can. Start to be aware of what you say with your mouth, because you'd be fascinated. If somebody could follow you with a pencil and paper, you'd be amazed at how much negativity you say about yourself on a daily basis. It's absolutely amazing. In my lectures, I talk about that a lot. And I use the example, for example, let's say there's a party or something, and there's this pretty big rotund woman, and somebody comes up to her and they say, "Hey, Bertha, you want another piece of cake?" Bertha will say something like, "Well, if I eat it, it's going to go right to my hips, but thank you." And she takes it. What has she done? She just told herself, take cake, put on hips. And then she wonders why she got so big. She just told herself what to do with that cake. Do you understand? And that's a fact. All right. We've all had friends who, they could eat like a horse and they never seem to gain weight or something, right? And somebody comes up and says, "Hey, how do you always look so fit and trim and everything? You eat like a horse. What's going on?" And they say something like, "I don't know. I guess I just burn it up as fuel or something." Take cake, use as fuel, boom. And then they wonder why they look so good. Okay. They've told themselves what to do with the food. Use it as fuel. All right. So be careful, very careful of what you say with your mouth, because it's going to program you. And literally, whatever you put into that subconscious, it's your subconscious job to make you become it. Okay. The subconscious is the programming aspect of our being. So think about that. It's like any program you put into a computer. The computer has no alternative but to do what the program tells it to do. That's how it is with you. Whatever you put into that subconscious, the subconscious is going to bring it out into you. So be careful. Watch what you say. Learn, as I said, to become your own best friend. There's nothing wrong with believing in yourself. Okay? There's nothing wrong with taking pride in yourself. Another question here. Oh, thank you very much. Some nice people. Okay, liking my books. They've used my books. Again, go to, if you can see it here, whatiwillican.com. Okay, that's the website, whatiwillican.com. You'll find a lot of interesting stuff on that website. You'll even find discounts for the books, things like that. But more than that, you'll find a lot of commentary from people who actually bought the books and used the books. The books are made to be tools, if you will, as I mentioned, tools for life, okay, to be guidebooks, to be handbooks. They're not meant to be read once and then put on the shelf. There's one comment on there one time from a woman who says she keeps the book on her front seat next to her, and it's all dog-eared and everything else. And sometimes she'll pull it out and go to a particular spot, which will help her with whatever she's doing that day. We have another question here. What to do if you are dealing with an addict partner? Interesting. In the first place, there's not much we can do with somebody else. Everybody has to pretty much do their own thing for themselves. Okay? It's almost like learning. We can't teach anybody anything. We teach ourselves. Okay? We learn what we choose to learn. Okay? So the addict partner or whatever has to want to recover, has to want to get rid of things. But by getting these books and stuff, basically reprogramming your subconscious. I worked with a lot of substance abusers and so on, former substance abusers and so on, and we reprogram the subconscious, and it's amazing all the success we've had. Okay? And the whole reprogramming process is kind of interesting. And I talk about it in the books, and it's a fairly easy process. What it amounts to basically, and I'll give you the very simplistic overview, because the Russians found out there are no two voices alike, and we are audio programmable. If we say something positive, that too will go in our ear and program us. Okay, so we tend to use in our programming a lot of affirmations. Now, let me qualify this. An affirmation is a very interesting thing. A lot of people don't really understand it. In an affirmation, which means the affirmative, you can't have any negative words or anything, because this is fascinating. Now, when the Creator made us, the universe, whatever you want to call it, our subconscious was made not to accept any negativity whatsoever. So if you say, for example, don't think about elephants, the first thing that pops into your head is an elephant. Okay? Because it doesn't recognize the don't. Or if you say, I will not smoke anymore, all it hears is I will smoke more. Okay? So be careful. An affirmation has to be strictly all in positive words, number one. Number two, it has to be in the now. Okay? You can't say, if you're trying to quit smoking, you can't say, I will stop smoking. No, because your subconscious will create is that you will eventually stop smoking, but it'll never happen because it'll always be away from you. I will eventually stop smoking. No, so it has to be in the now. So you say, I am smoke free now. Okay, you always say it as though it's already happened. So by using an affirmation with your own voice, and what I would do with my clients, I had a private practice, through a lot of testing and things, I would write a script for them. Then I would have a tape recorder and everything, and they would record that script with their own voice. And remember the cassettes and everything, they would make a cassette, and then they would listen to that cassette at least once a day for 30 days. Okay? The Russians say 21 days. I always said 30 days, so we had great success with that. Okay? But you should listen to it at least once a day for 30 days. And it has to be continuous. I mean, you can't listen to it for 17 days and then skip a day and say, well, I'll listen to it twice tomorrow. It doesn't work that way, because it's like a chain. You're building links. If you leave one link out, the chain's not going to work. Okay? So you have to listen to it continuously, contiguously, so they're all touching 30 days complete. Okay? Very important. And it's amazing. I've had people that, I had a friend one time, she was a neighbor of mine. It was summertime. I'd go out to get in my car to go to work or something, and I'd see her jogging down the street with her earphones on and everything, and she'd be waving to me. So I'd say, oh, wow, she's listening to her tape. I'd come home for lunch and she'd be in her garden, gardening and stuff, and she'd have the headset on saying, hi, and say, oh, wow, she's listening to it a second time, whatever. And it's great. Sometimes people would listen to it 2 and 3 times a day, and that's wonderful, because that just reinforces it all the more. Okay? So let me tell you real quick. I see you have another question, but let me put the cap on the bottle on this one. What happens basically when you're doing that affirmation stuff through a tape or your telephone or whatever, what happens is, if you think of your brain as a bunch of like straight pins stuck all over the place, you got a couple of hundred straight pins stuck up, right? And when you get a thought, you're shooting a spark from one head of the pin to another, and that creates a thought. Okay? If you think that thought over and over and over again, the brain, in its infinite wisdom, hardwires it. So you no longer have to shoot the spark, you just send it through the wire, and it becomes a habit. Okay? That's what a habit is. It's a hardwired thought or action. Okay? So what you're doing by listening to this tape every day, you're gradually building a hard wire to the new way you want to be. And what happens is, the more you buy into the new way a month later or something, and it becomes a habit, the old one, because you're not using it now, just kind of shrivels up. Okay? And this one kind of overlays and over empowers it. You understand? Okay, real quick. Let me see. We got another question. How do you get over a bad experience? I sometimes have nightmares about my past, and it has been almost 15 years, but why is it still haunting me? Okay, let me qualify this again. I am not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm a communication specialist. Okay, I deal with empowerment and things, but I do know this. The more you dwell on something, the bigger and broader it gets because you accept it. The mind can only hold one thought at a time. You can't have two thoughts going on at the same time. So you can come up with something very positive in your life, something very good, something you achieved, a goal or something you overcame, some kind of hardship or whatever. And when you start to get a bad thought, you can overlay and quickly put in this other thought, and it will tend to supersede or get rid of the other thought, and you'll be focused on the new thought. It's almost like, think of this, it's almost like you're by a fireplace and little embers and sparks are flying out, and you're wearing a sweater and one of the sparks falls on you, on your shirt or something. If you just leave it and go with it and let it do it, it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. That's what happens with a bad thought or a negative thought, okay? But if it goes on there and you brush it off instantly, it's gone, okay? So when it comes to getting rid of some thoughts from the past, if you're conscious and the thoughts come in, right away try to bring in a more positive thought. Change it. A lot of people, like when they're trying to quit smoking or something, will put a rubber band around their wrist. And if they start to think, oh, I need a cigarette, boom, they suddenly pull the rubber band and, ow, ooh, so they change their thoughts. Oh, wow, that hurt. I shouldn't have done that anymore. Where did I get that rubber? You know, and they shift their thought. Okay. Some people even use the actual physical word cancel. They start to get a negative thought. They say cancel. And they move on. I told a story the other day about jumping Jehoshaphat. You've heard that. The cowboys use that term a lot. Oh, jumping Jehoshaphat. What he was, and it comes from the Bible and everything, he was a general who was far, he had only like 3,000 soldiers, and he was supposed to go up the next day against 25,000 soldiers. He knew he was going to be annihilated with his soldiers. He went up on the hill and he started to talk to God, and God told him, he said, don't worry about it. Take your men, go into the valley against those guys, and I'll take care of it. He said, you don't understand. They're 25,000. I've only got 3,000. God said, listen, do what I say. Do you believe in me? Well, yeah, but you don't understand. I only got 3,000. God says, do it anyway. So he started coming down the hill, and every time he started thinking about getting annihilated and stuff, he'd hit himself in the head, or he'd jump up, or he'd punch himself or something just to get rid of that thought. And his soldiers would look at him coming down the hill, hitting themselves, jumping up and down and everything. And they'd say, oh boy, this guy's going nuts, you know, jumping Jehoshaphat. And that's where the term came from. So again, as far as nightmares and things, that's certainly not my domain. I wish I had the answer, but I don't. But when you're conscious during the daytime, change your thought instantly. Do not dwell on it. We have a tendency to dwell and magnify, and it'll just keep getting bigger and bigger. And as it gets bigger, it becomes more powerful. So the idea is to nip it in the bud, shift right away to another thought. And I know easier said than done. Okay, and I'm sorry that you're getting those experiences. But the more you start to think, you know, the more you start to think about positive thoughts, wonderful things that you've done and everything before you go to sleep, we have a tendency to start to continue that through our dreams and everything. So hopefully that might be a help to start superseding, you know, the negative things with positive images and positive thoughts. But I wish you a lot of luck, okay? Because it's certainly it's not an easy fix, and not something you say, oh, don't worry about it. You can do it this way. No, it's going to take time. But again, anytime a negative thought comes to mind, try to think of a positive thing which will override it. Because again, you can only hold one thought in your mind at a time. Does that make any sense? I hope so. Anyway, please, if I can help you in any way or something you want to talk more on a one-to-one, my email is joe@josephgiampapa.com. I'll be more than happy to communicate with you on a one-to-one, and we could take things from there. I have another question. How to deal with someone who has an anger management problem? Wow. Well, in the first place, that's their problem. Okay, it's not for you to fix them. Okay, it's something they need to do. The key thing with anger, and this is very interesting, the core of any anger, 100%, is fear. Anytime a person is angry, if you go to the root of it, it's something he or she is afraid of. Okay? If your boss starts yelling at you, he's yelling at you for what you did because ultimately there'll be repercussions, and he'll be the one where the hammer's going to come down on him. Okay, or he's going to get into trouble or whatever. So then he gets angry and he puts it out on you because you caused his possible dissatisfaction or hurt. Okay, so you have to understand the core of all anger is fear. So what you can do, and I've done this at times with kids, with children and stuff too, if they start to get real angry and everything, I say, settle down, settle down. What are you afraid of? And if they're open enough, they'll say, well, I'm afraid because now you did that this is going to happen to me. Okay. And then once you can address that, you can deal with it. Okay. So if this person doesn't want to talk about it, what are you talking about? I'm not afraid. I just don't want to. Then there's not a whole bunch you can do. But just understand that the core of all anger is fear. Okay. If a person gets super angry and throws all these tantrums and everything, there's something that person is afraid of. Something that person is hiding inside and doesn't want to happen to him or her. So maybe you can help find out what it is and help them to alleviate it or whatever, or ease their mind a little bit by saying, hey, I'm not trying to challenge you or whatever. Okay, if you could try to find out what the cause is of their fear. But again, that's so key. Remember that the core of all anger is fear. Okay, I have a friend, as a matter of fact, when I was a counselor and stuff, I did a lot of work with anger management and so on. I had this one kid that he would constantly throw tantrums and everything. And it turned out basically he was afraid of people thinking he was stupid. And that really hurt his feelings and bothered him a lot. And so he would throw these tantrums. You know, I say, what's about him? Well, they're all going to think I'm stupid now and everything because of that. And no, they're not. Well, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So again, the core of all anger is fear. All right. Again, this is interesting. We tend to be so hard on ourselves constantly. We beat ourselves up. You know, I always say, try to be your own best friend instead of your worst critic. You know, if you have a friend that's going for a job or something and your friend goes for the job, the interview and everything, and doesn't get it and walks away, and so you're walking with the person, what do? You try to cheer them up, right? You say things like, come on, you know, that just wasn't the right job for you or something. Remember, you got all A's in school and everything. You're going to be fine. I'll bet you the next interview and everything, you're going to be, you know, boom, 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 boom. We're building that person up. But what happens with us? We go for a job interview or something, right? We don't get it or something. We walk away. Well, Klutzel, you did it again. You know, shame on you. You're never good at these. You know, no. Why? You don't have to be that way. Start to realize all that you are. You came into this world, this incredible, beautiful, intelligent, wonderful being. And that doesn't change. As I mentioned before, you're this intelligent person. When you take a test and fail, it doesn't mean you're a failure. You're still this intelligent person who failed a test. You are not what happens to you. Remember that. Okay? You came into this world, this glorious, beautiful, wonderful thing, prepackaged. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you something. You came into this world a winner. Truly. You came into this world a winner. Think about it. We've all had biology 101 or, you know, science 101 or whatever, right? We know that there's all these gazillion million sperm, you know, all racing towards this one little egg, you know, and they're all racing, trying to get to this one little egg. And one of the sperm meets with the egg and boom, bada boom, bada bing, out you come, this magnificent you. But remember, if another different sperm would have come and got a hold of that egg, it would have been a different person, not you. So this particular sperm connected with the egg and out you came. You won the sperm race. You came into this world a winner. Think about it. You're fantastic. You beat out all the others. Think about that. You know, it's magnificent. If you watch my little videos and things on my websites, I talk about walking. To me, that's phenomenal. Because we were this little kid, you know, maybe 10 months old, maybe 13, 14 months old, whatever. We were little babies. We had this little head, this little brain and everything. And we look around and saw all these people walking around and we said, hey, that's pretty cool. I think I want to do that, you know. So we try. We get up. We take a couple of steps. We fall down. We hit our chin, you know, ow. You know, we fall down. We skin our knee, all that kind of stuff. But did we give up? No. We kept trying, kept going until one day we started to walk. And that was really cool. And so we did it. And we got better and better at it. You know, it's interesting. I do lectures for like 500 people, 1,000 people, whatever, big auditorium. Afterwards, they all start coming up to talk to me and everything. I've never in all these years had a person crawl up to me. And I say, hey, what are you doing down there? Oh, I don't do that walking thing. I tried it once. I fell down. I hurt myself. I don't like it. No. Every single one of us saw that walking thing and liked it and did it. Okay? What happened to that spirit? It's still in you. You still have it, but somewhere along the line, we quit doing that. Okay? When we were small, we saw something we wanted, we learned it, and we did it. Simple as that. Now, we're forever putting limits on ourselves. Oh, I can't do it. Maybe when I was younger, I could do it, but now I'm older, I can't do it. Okay, you can't do it. And that's so sad. So very, very sad. The only limits we have are the ones we put on ourselves. Take away the limits and watch your success. Absolutely incredible. Learn to change your thinking. Another question. Let's see. Why do people not even try to be great? Good question. Again, through fear. Okay, they're afraid of failure. Now, this is interesting. You know, they're afraid of failing, so they don't even try. But I got to tell you something. I once was contracted by a company to check out quote unquote, successful people, like could be millionaires, inventors, movie stars, whatever, but great, quote unquote, great people. What made them successes? What made them great? And I did quite a bit of research, and I took it with a lot of zeal because I was very interested myself. And it was phenomenal what I found. Okay, there were a lot of different things that made each one great and everything else, but there was one common denominator throughout the entire group, every single one of them. What do you think it was? Sure, it was things like tenacity, stick-to-itness and stuff like that. That was, you know, pretty prevalent in most of them and everything. But what I found, and this is key, what I found in every single solitary successful person was a string of failures. A string of failures. Not a failure here and a failure there and a failure in the next year. A string of failures. But they kept going because they knew inside of them that they had what it takes to be a success. They saw the light at the end of the tunnel, so they kept going. You know, a couple of days ago, I was talking about a jockey, very famous jockey by the name of Eddie Arcaro. I come from Chicago. Horse racing is very big there. Eddie Arcaro is one of the biggest purse winners in the world, won more money than any other jockey and everything. But what a lot of people don't realize is Eddie Arcaro lost his first 45 races in a row. 45 races this guy lost. Never won. 45 times. Now imagine what was going through this guy's mind when he got on the horse the 46th time. Imagine who would give this guy a horse, right? Have you ever won, Eddie? Well, no, I haven't. I mean, my goodness, you know. But he knew inside of him that he had what it takes to be a good jockey. He knew if he keeps going, he's going to make it. And sure enough, the 46th time, bada boom, bada bing, he won. And the rest is history, as they say. Absolutely amazing. Okay? As a matter of fact, I could tell you a story about a guy that was a lieutenant, went in the Army a lieutenant, and came out a private. Had 3 businesses, one at a time, and failed at every single one. Went bankrupt. Ran for local politics twice. Twice he lost. Then he gets the idea to become president, run for president. And he made it. Abraham Lincoln. If you read this guy's life halfway through, you're going to say, what a loser. But he kept going. He knew he had something to share. Are you getting the message here? Okay, we have a question here. Let's see. Thank you for the advice. Sometimes I'm not aware with my words because I didn't know anything about subconscious. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I think, you know, we all need to be reminded of that constantly. Watch what you say with your mouth. You know, unfortunately, like I said, I worked with at-risk kids for a long time and everything. And unfortunately, they get bombarded on their way up while they're growing from perhaps their parents, their friends, whatever. You know, you're stupid, you're worthless, you're a nobody. And that's all playing around them. They're hearing that constantly until finally they start saying it with their mouth. I guess you're right. I'm just stupid. I guess you're right. I'm a nobody. I'm worthless. And then it starts programming themselves. And they start to become that. And that's so sad. That's so sad. So watch, please, on a daily basis, watch what you say with your mouth, because it'll go in your ear and program you. And unfortunately, you'll start to become that. So again, I say, be careful of what you say with your mouth. Learn to know, first of all, that you have all this potentiality inside of you, okay? And don't be afraid to fail. Failure is literally a part of success. You might even say failure is a prerequisite to success. And again, remember, all these great successful people I told you about, it wasn't just one failure or two, it was a string of failures. Learn to listen to that little voice inside, okay? Because your higher self knows what's best for you. It'll give you inspiration. If it's telling you, keep going, it's okay. So you failed this one, don't worry about it, keep going. So you did this, don't worry about it, keep going. Okay? Now, can you imagine Jockey A.D.R. Carroll losing his first 45 races, and yet he still went on to become a beautiful, fantastic, world-class jockey? Okay, it's interesting. Think about you. What have you done 45 times and failed at it, and yet kept going? You know, how many times, you try bowling, try once, twice. Well, I guess I stink at bowling. You try golf once, 2, 3 times. Well, I guess golf is not my game. No. What have you done 45 times and failed at it and kept going? Probably nothing, huh? Interesting. See the difference then between you and a successful person? They've got that ability to keep going. And we all have that inside of us. You have to know success is nothing but a stepping stone to where you want to be. And nobody says it's going to be easy. I use the analogy in my lectures of a pinball machine. Think of a pinball machine. There's a destination you want to get the most points or something, and you pull the thing and the ball's going this way or something, but it's starting to go off course. So what do? You hit it, bang, with one of the flippers, and it comes back on course and everything, and then it starts to go off course the other way. So what do? You hit it again, boom, with another flipper, and so it comes back on course and everything. So each time it's getting those bangs, those booms, those knocks. Why do you think they call it the school of hard knocks? Okay? Each one of those bangs, each one of those booms is putting it on course again. Okay? So we need to fall down every now and then. We need those hits, those bangs, those hard times, because it's putting us back on track. Okay? So don't worry about a failure when it comes to you, because it's a prerequisite to your success. And it has to come. It has to come. Let me see. Are we doing okay with the questions? How do you deal with someone anger management? We already talked about that and everything. Fine. I think we're hitting most of the questions here. Again, if you have any questions, please bring them in, and I'll be happy to discuss them with you. I certainly don't profess to say I know everything, because I certainly don't. And I'm not here to teach anything, because we teach ourselves. Take what you want, what you don't want, leave it. I won't be offended. Okay? I'm here to share. That's what my books are all about. This book right here, What I Will, I Can, has 21 precepts in it, okay, for how to live a better life, a quality life, a happier life, more enjoyable life, okay? Read it. Use some of them. Try them out, okay? You don't like it, leave it alone. I won't be offended. If you like it, use it, okay? Everything I do in my books is based on 40 years of actual experiences and research with my clients and with people trying things out that really work. And I believe in sharing, okay? I come from a large Italian family, and that's where we learn sharing, loving, cooperating, caring. That's what it's all about. We're on this planet to help each other. We're on this planet to share. And if you don't use all your potentiality, all that's inside of you, all your talents and skills, We suffer just as much as you. Okay, we're the ones that aren't going to benefit, just like you. Okay, so bring out all this beautiful stuff inside of you for our benefit as well as yours. Okay, that's why you're here. I have a friend. I had a friend from Ireland who used to say, if you wake up and you're breathing, you still have stuff to do. And isn't that cool? That's so right on. We still have stuff to do. If you wake up and you're breathing, you still have stuff to do. So learn to appreciate yourself. Learn to understand you have all of this potentiality inside of you, but we'll never know, and neither will you, unless you bring it out. Okay? Any other questions? Please throw the questions at me. Any answers? I need all the help I can get. I'll take anything you want to throw at me. Excuse me. Again, please go to whatican.com. You'll find a lot of interesting information on the website. You'll find my books listed on the website with explanatives about what the books are about. Also, you'll find discounts on there for the various books and so on and so forth. Okay, another question. Here we go. Okay. Let's see. In the process of recovering, is it possible for them to have a withdrawal? This is in connection to the substance abuser. Okay, interesting. Again, please understand, I'm not a clinician. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm a communication specialist, okay? So I don't profess to know all about substance abuse recovery and all of that. I could just tell you what I've done and what works with substance abusers that I've worked with, okay? When people have withdrawals and everything, that's the physiological part of the body, the chemistry of the body that's reacting a little bit. That has to be dealt with in a certain way. You can't just say, well, I just want that to go away, because it's a physical thing that's happening to them. And it's a part of recovery a lot of times. And I would say definitely, they need to go to a specific medical doctor or counselor for substance abuse that can work with that and deal with that. It says, will it make them more aggressive? It says, in terms of communication, if you're a kind person who keeps nagging to a substance abuser, will it make them more aggressive? Well, I mean, let's face it. I think no one likes nagging, okay? And especially if you're going through something, some kind of trauma of which, trying to get off, a substance or something certainly is a bit of a trauma. If somebody's nagging you, I don't think it's going to put them in the best disposition. So I would think, of course, it's going to make them more aggressive, okay? Or perhaps it could make them more depressed, which you have to watch out for, okay? The bottom line is, obviously, don't nag, okay? I know we all want the best for the ones we love, but sometimes nagging at them certainly will not help. If anything, it'll definitely injure them more, because they'll either get depressed or they will become, as you mentioned, more aggressive. So, nagging is never good. Nagging is a very negative thing. So I would say definitely try to eliminate the nagging, okay? The key thing for somebody going through something like that, we are not counselors ourselves or anything. So the best thing you could do is just be there for the person. Sometimes just your presence, okay? Just being there if they need you. Let them be the one to initiate a question, can you help me? Or can we do this or do that? Okay, and then be there for them. Okay, don't try to direct them. Don't try to control them. Just be there for them. That's about the best we can do. And it's probably one of the most beneficial things we can do for somebody going through a crisis like substance recovery and this type of thing. Okay, interesting. Again, talking about success and everything, which is really, but success is waiting to happen. We have everything inside of us to become a success and to be all we were meant to become. A rose seed, if you plant it, and water it and let it get sun day in and day out, it has to become a rose. It has no choice, okay? It's not going to become a squirrel. It's not going to become a cucumber. It's not going to be a carrot. It has to become a rose, okay? You came into this world prepackaged. You're going to become all you were meant to be by basically just allowing, okay? But unfortunately, we tend to lock it in sometimes. We go in a particular direction. We fight ourselves a lot of times. You know, I worked with kids when I taught high school and stuff, counseling them before they went into college. I said, what are you going to be? What are you going to, what's your program in, you know, college? What are you going to take? And everything. Oh, I'm going to take, you know, high technology, computer technology or something like that. I say, why are you going to do that? That's where the money is. I say, oh, really? I said, do you like that? No, I hate it. Then why are you doing it? Okay. No, don't follow the money trail. I don't care what anybody tells you, unless your heart is telling you to do it. I tell people, find out what makes your heart sing. What do you enjoy? What do you love? That's what you need to follow through on, okay? Because that's coming from within. That's coming from inspiration. You are being inspired towards that particular thing, okay? And it's very interesting because if you look at the root of, you know, different words and stuff, the root of inspire is actually created from two words. It means in spirit, okay? Inspire means in spirit. It's coming from your higher self, from God, from the universe, from whatever, but something is guiding you towards that. Listen to it, go for it, because that's what's going to bring you joy. And what good is all the money in the world if you're unhappy? Seriously, seriously. Isn't our goal to enjoy life, to love life, to be happy? That's why we're here, okay? And if you can be all you can be, you know, doing the things that you love and everything, as they say, you'll never work a day in your life. You'll be doing what you love. And that's so important. And let's face it, if you love doing something and everything else, it's going to help your health and everything else. It's when you don't like something and everything that you start to get ulcers and all these different things and everything else. So the bottom line is start listening to your heart. What brings you joy? What gives you happiness? You know, inspiration, okay? In spirit. That's where it's coming from. And don't listen to everybody else, okay? That's a big recommendation I have. Forget other people's opinions about what you should do and who you are and what you are and everything else, because everybody in the world's got opinions about us and they're usually wrong, okay? The only opinion that needs to concern you is your opinion of yourself, and it should be high. Understand that. It has nothing to do with ego whatsoever, because let's face it, you didn't make you, okay? Your mom and dad did, God did, whatever, the universe, okay? So there's nothing wrong with wallowing in the wonder of who you are and loving yourself, okay? Because again, you came into this world with all this wonderful stuff. Appreciate it, learn to love it. We have another question. What is the best advice you can share for someone who aspires to be a communication specialist? Wow, interesting. My advice, number one, is to see it in your mind's eye. Dr. Wayne Dyer tells us always to see all things as you desire them to be. In other words, see yourself talking to audiences, see yourself helping others, literally visualize it. Now, here's the interesting thing, okay? Matthew Fox, researcher, tells us that everything in the universe is a duality, okay? In order to create, you need two things always, okay? And then you can create things, okay? Everything is made up of two things. You can't have up without down. You can't have white without black. You can't have, you know, positive. You have a negative, and so on and so forth. In order to make a child, it takes a male and a female come together and they make a child, and so on and so forth. So everything takes a duality, okay? Now, you have basically the ability with your imagination to visualize what it is you want. Okay, you see yourself as a communication specialist, helping people, maybe in a private practice, maybe talking to an auditorium full of people, whatever. Visualize that. That's one aspect, right? But now the second aspect is feeling or emotion. Tie feelings to whatever it is you're seeing or visualizing. Feel it. Get into it. Know what it's like, okay? When you put those two together, you will create reality for yourself. And if you do that enough, you will become a communication specialist. Okay, the more you do it, the more you're going to create it. Obviously, certainly you should practice it too. Every opportunity you get, try to do the work and everything. But again, even in the Bible, it says, you know, believe that you have it and you will have it. If you live your life like you have it already, it eventually will come to you. Einstein said everything in this world is a vibration. He said, if you can raise your vibration to whatever it is you desire, it has to come into your life. If you can raise to the same vibration of that which you desire, it has to come into your life. Okay, that's how things work. In Hollywood, they say fake it till you make it. Okay, become the person you desire to become, and you're an actor faking it at the moment until finally you become it. Okay, so that's my key. Again, everything takes two to create. The law of attraction and everything. Visualize what you want very clearly and add feeling and emotion to it. Okay, this is interesting. They've done a lot of tests with prayer, and a lot of people say, well, this is why prayer works sometimes. If you really are caring about somebody, when somebody's really hurt and you're praying, please let them get better and everything, you're putting emotion along with the visualization of them recuperating and everything, and then they start to get better. Okay, because they say we in this world can create by adding two things: a visual coupled with feeling. So that's really, really important. I hope that helps you. Okay, and I'm glad you're interested in communication, okay, and being a communication specialist, because I think what the world needs now is more open communication. Unfortunately, especially going through all this COVID stuff and everything, we've become isolates. I'm Italian. I come from a big family. Touch is very important for me. Hugging, holding, after my lectures and everything, people would come up and I'd give them hugs and stuff usually and everything. Now everybody's afraid to touch anybody, even looking. They don't even look at each other. They drop their eyes when they walk past each other. And you think, how sad. No, we need to connect more. We need to communicate more. We need to open up more. Again, in relationships and things, you'll find the biggest breakdowns are lack of communication. People aren't talking to each other anymore. And you think, how sad, how sad. So we need more communication specialists. So good for you. Go for it. And that's interesting. Again, let me talk about the books, whatiwill.com. There are 3 books. One is called What I Will I Can, and it deals with 21 precepts about how to live a happier, healthier, more enjoyable life. Take what you want, what you don't want, leave. Okay, this book was made to be read in a single sitting. Okay, you can read this book on the airplane. By the time you get off the airplane, you've already read the book. You could probably read it in a couple of hours at a single sitting. The other book is called simply Unleash the Super You Within. Okay, now this is an interesting book, because this book basically is kind of a workbook inside. There are actually fill in the blanks. Okay, and what it will do, this book will help you to assess where you're at this point in your life. And then there are more fill in the blanks and everything, which will help guide you to, what makes you feel good, blah, 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 this kind of stuff, which will help guide you to where you want to be ultimately. And then if you follow through, this book basically is like a blueprint to get you to your desired goals, your desired life. Okay, and then the third one is called Tools for Life. This basically is a journal, okay, on a daily basis, giving you tips and things for the day, but also for you to write down your successes and the positive things you're proud of and the things you have done, and so on and so forth, to help guide you through your life path towards your goals. Okay, so all 3 books deal with self-actualization, the remaking of you, if you will. Hopefully, these books are made to introduce you to you. Okay? It's interesting. I always joke around that a lot of people say, oh, I took a year off to try to, discover myself, to try to find myself. I say, yeah, you're out there, trying to find yourself. In my day, nobody was lost. We were always so busy, nobody worried about, finding themselves. It just kind of came natural. But it's interesting. Hopefully, these 3 books will help you on your path to be all you can be. I love that saying. I think it comes from the Army, but it's so true. To be all you can be. We have to listen to that inner voice. It'll guide us. I tell the story often, true story, about a man in Brazil who was born with some kind of disease and everything that kind of twisted his body up, made him kind of crippled and everything else. And it was really sad. When he was about 13 or 14 years old, his fingers started to fall off and his toes started to fall off and things. And he was driven mad with pain, and he would take a hatchet and chop off the ones that remained because they were so painful. And this guy was going through all kinds of these terrible agonies and things. And yet he found time to start to sculpt, and he would sculpt out of soapstone. And it was amazing because he would make these statues that were lifelike. They were 5 and 6 feet tall. And so help me if you saw any of these statues, they looked so human-esque. It was amazing. They looked just like human beings. You could tap them on the shoulder and you'd expect them to walk away or something. They were so human-like, the details and everything. He did one statue of like the crucifixion of Jesus on the cross, and you could see the veins on the arms and everything, all these details. This from a guy who didn't even have hands. He had stubs, and they would strap the tools on his arms and stuff. And this guy would crawl to work every day for 20 some years until finally, when he couldn't walk, move, or do anything anymore, he dropped dead. Okay, but he left a monument of all these incredible statues that are wonderful. Now think about this. This guy, racked with pain, tortured with all of this stuff, twisted body, hurting and everything else, it would have been so much easier for this man, so much easier in the morning when he woke up to just roll over and die. But he knew. He absolutely knew he had this talent inside of him. He knew that when he was gone, so was his talent. He knew he had something to share with the world, something to give the world. And so he went on every day, agonizing, crawling to work, chipping away, and leaving us all these beautiful monuments. Okay, which are incredible. So think about that. Okay, we all have special gifts inside of us. Okay, and we don't know what they are until we bring them out and try them. Okay, and yes, we're going to fall down on our face, and yet we're going to fail sometimes and everything, but that doesn't mean we're not going to make it. If we have that burning desire inside to be whatever it is we desire to be, we're going to make it if we keep going. The only time you fail is when you quit. Understand that. The only time you fail is when you quit. If you keep going, you have to make it. Okay? Think about this. Now, I live in Reno, Nevada, gambling town, okay? We have Vegas down below and everything else. I go there quite a bit and everything about gambling. And it's kind of fascinating because let's take a silver dollar, for example. We throw the silver dollar up in the air, we catch it, look at it, and it's heads. Cool. We take it again. We throw it up in the air. We catch it. Heads again. Wow. Okay. So now we take it, throw it up in the air, catch it. Mamma mia, it's still heads. 3 times it came up heads. Okay. So now we take it and we're going to throw it up in the air again. What do you think the odds are of it coming down heads again? Actually, 50-50. Still same odds, 50-50. But we know, we absolutely know beyond a shadow of a doubt, somewhere along the line, if we keep throwing that and catching it, there's going to be a tails, right? There has to be, or it would defy the law of the universe. Do you understand that? So it is with you. If you keep trying to do something and working at it and trying and working, eventually you're going to hit your success. Understand that. The only time you fail is when you quit. Okay, we have another question. Do you have any tips for aspiring writers? Oh, yeah. Well, first and foremost, I think write about what you know. Write about what you have a passion for. To me, I've got friends that say things like, "Oh, I'm going to write a book." Okay, and I'll say, "Really? What's it about?" "Oh, I'm going to write a book about monsters because that's really in now and everything." You know, that's totally wrong because that's the outside working in. Okay, And it doesn't work that success doesn't work that way. Success works from the inside going out. You need to be inspired. Okay. You need to be impassioned. So first and foremost, write about what you know or what you have a feeling for, what you have a passion for. Very important. Okay. Secondly, and I'm not, again, I've never written fiction or anything. I'm not a novelist or anything else. So I certainly don't profess to know the best procedures for writing a novel or anything. Everything I do tends to be realistic. I work with self-actualization, that type of thing. I have written 6 plays. I used to work with the film and television industry and theater. So I have written 6 plays, which I guess, we could call fantasies or whatever. But my advice, like I say, first write about something you know, write about something you're impassioned with. And then secondly, or thirdly, don't force yourself to write. Okay. Some people, they'll say, well, from 8 to 5 every day, I'll sit down, and they sit down at their typewriter, their computer or whatever. Okay, today I'm going to write my book. It doesn't work that way. You need to be inspired. For me, of course, my books are obviously different. There's self-actualization books and things. They're not fantasies or novels. But I wrote my first book because 2 years previous, I had lost my son. And my son was my best friend. And when I lost him, it was really, really agonizing for me, very hard, very difficult time for me. And I live in Reno with the mountains and the hills and things. And so I found myself every day walking the hills and, sometimes 3 miles, 5 miles, sometimes even 10 miles, just kind of shouting at the moon, discussing, what's going on, what's the point of life, everything else, talking to myself, and day in and day out. And finally, after about a year, and I kept doing it and everything, I started to realize, well, if I'm here, there's got to be a reason why I'm here. Okay. If I'm here, there must be something I need to do. There's something I need to share. Again, as my Irish friend, he said, if you wake up and you're breathing, you still have stuff to do. Okay. So I start getting ideas and things. Well, geez, maybe I can help other people by doing this and this and this. So I start jotting down little things. I used to carry a little pad of paper with me. Sometimes I'd even write on the back of a gum wrapper or something. Okay. And after about a year and a half or so, I had all these little notes and things that I had made along my journey, if you will. And then I kind of put them all together, start collating them and put them in some kind of order or outline, if you will, and thus started my book. Okay. So I didn't write the book. The book basically wrote itself. So I say one of the key rules for writing a book is wait for inspiration. Okay. Each time you get inspired, sit down and start jotting notes, start writing and everything. If you're not inspired, don't do it. Go out and sit in nature for a while, whatever. Okay. Until you get inspired, then that's the time to put pen to paper or to your computer. Okay. We have another question. What is the main genre of your book? Well, actually books. And the main genre for all of them is self-actualization. Learning to tap in to all that is inside of you, to tap into your potentiality, to become all you were meant to become. Okay. You came into this world prepackaged. Okay. You came into this world a success waiting to happen. As I mentioned earlier, you're like, if you plant a rose seed, it's going to become a rose. Okay. It has no choice. It's not going to become a carrot. It's not going to become a squirrel. It's going to become a rose. Okay. That's how you are. You're going to become all you were meant to become if you allow it and nurture it. Okay. But unfortunately, too often we squash it. We start to force ourselves into other directions and things. Okay, so my books are on self-actualization. I give a lot of tips, a lot of ways how to do it. I give you blueprints, what I call blueprints for success and things like that. Some of the books are workbooks. They're assessments, where you are now, where you want to be, and so on and so forth. Okay, so anything I can do to help, please, by all means, contact me. Either through my email, which is joe@josephgiampapa.com, or through my websites, and let's talk. I'll be happy to share with you anything that seems to work for me or whatever. Again, I'm open to all your questions. I'm open to any answers you have. I need all help I can get. Let's face it. Okay. But yeah, my books kind of, I like to say they wrote themselves, because I don't just sit down and say, I'm going to write a book. It doesn't work that way. I get an inspiration and then start to build on it. We have another question. I checked Amazon, and with your first book, what inspired you to publish this? Well, as I mentioned earlier, I had lost my son, and I struggled for a couple of years wondering what the purpose of life is and everything else, and started to jot down little notes here and there. And I had a private practice helping people reprogram their subconscious. And little by little, I started getting these inspirations and little insights and things, and I started collecting them. And I thought, wow, these could probably help some other people. And through my private practice and everything, I put a lot of them into actual use, and they seem to benefit people and so on. So I thought, well, maybe I should put them in a book, in kind of a collection, if you will, where people can kind of pick and choose and take, elements that would help them. And so that basically was my inspiration, if you will, for writing the book. I believe in sharing. Again, I mentioned earlier, I think I come from a family of 11, big Italian family, and we learned early on how to share, how to cooperate. Love makes the wheels go around, how to be nice to people, how to be kind, this kind of stuff. And if we find something that works, then you want to share it. And so basically that's what I did. And so my first book deals with 21 precepts, or tips, if you will, for a higher quality life, a more enjoyable life, a better life. Okay. And so that's the name of that tune. Again, go to whatiwillican.com. You'll find a lot of interesting information on there. You'll find, again, commentaries from people who have the books, and they explain how the books work for them. And it's always an honor to hear that some of these things really work well for people. Okay, I mentioned earlier, there's one woman that says she keeps the book on the front seat of her car, and it's all dog-eared, and she refers to it almost every day. So that's kind of nice. We're all in this together. We're here to work together, to share ourselves. But again, the key is to be yourself, to share who you are individually, not to buy into all of Madison Avenue's hype, with commercials. They want us to be like this person, so you have to buy the product in order to be like this person. You need to buy this hair color if you want to look like her and be like her and have all the friends like her and everything else. You need to wear this deodorant if you want to be accepted by everybody. No, you don't have to constantly try to keep up with the Joneses or be like other people, because you're going to end up with frustration after frustration, because you'll never be like another person, because you're not. You are a one-of-a-kind, unique individual. And that doesn't make you weird. That makes you incredibly special. Think about that. There's no such thing as an insignificant human being. It simply doesn't exist. I mean, when you go to LA or New York or Chicago or any big city and you see the homeless out on the street or something like that, you don't think, well, oh, what a waste. That person's a nobody. That person still has all that great potentiality inside of him, an intelligent, beautiful, talented being. He just chose not to use it in some way. Okay, and we have to understand, everything in life we do is a choice. Everything in life we do is a choice. You are exactly where you are now because of where you chose to put yourself day by day by day. Because we make hundreds of choices almost on a daily basis. You are exactly where you are in life because this is where you choose to be. Understand that. I told you I had a private practice. Sometimes I would get somebody come in and say, oh, my life sucks. I hate my life. Oh, it's absolutely the worst life you could have, blah, blah, blah. I'd say, stop. If you're not happy with your life, go stand in the corner and argue with yourself, because you put yourself there. And that's the name of that tune, because that's how it is. We are exactly in life where we choose to be. Okay? If you want to change it, make a different choice. Do something about it. These books will help you. We talk about reprogramming the subconscious. The subconscious is the programming aspect of your being. Change the program in your subconscious and your life will change automatically. Okay. Again, these books will help you to do all of that. Very interesting. Learn to believe in yourself. Okay. Again, I say everybody's got an opinion about us. Don't buy into that. The only opinion you need to recognize and buy into is yours, your opinion of yourself. And hopefully it will be high, a high opinion of yourself, because you're automatically this beautiful, wonderful person. You know, Einstein said every person is a genius. Every person is a genius. But, for example, he said, if you try to ask a fish to climb a tree, it'll forever think it's stupid. And so it is with us. We've all been there, right? There might be something that is totally, you know, for us seems like seemingly virtually impossible. And so we think, wow, I must be a real klutz. I can't do what they do. Of course not. You're not like them. You're you. But you could do things that they can't do. Believe it or not. You are totally unique. Totally unique. You say, oh yeah, what can I do? You'd be surprised what you can do. And we don't know all that you can do, and neither do you, until you start to bring it out. You could amaze yourself sometimes. You know, I mean, it's interesting. I always joke around and I say, for example, let's say you might be the world's greatest archer with a bow and arrow. But have you ever done archery? No. So how do you know? You don't. But maybe one day you'll start to go to an archery place and you start it and it finds out you're really good at it. That's a skill that you didn't even know you had. And that's how it is with us. We have things inside of us that we don't even know we're so good at until we start to bring them out. That's what you got to do. Okay? It's interesting, you know. There's a guy in Australia. His name is Cliff Young. He's was like what we call a rancher. Only in Australia they don't call them ranches; they call them stations. Okay, and they've got this race. Okay, it's a 600-kilometer race. Now that's a long race. Okay, it's worldwide. I think it's every 5 years, somewhere different in the world, whatever. It's a 600-kilometer race. I think that comes out to about 375 miles. Now, can you imagine running a 375-mile race? That's a big race, right? Okay, so they had this big race, and it was in Australia, I think Sydney, Australia, this one year. And runners were coming in from all over the world. Okay, some of the best runners in the world from Africa, from the United States, from England, and so on and so forth. And a lot of them were having their, you know, special ergonomic shoes, you know, the $800 shoes and everything else. And others had all the computer-generated aspects of how to run and use your body for the best, you know, optimum, you know, to get optimum benefit from your body and so on. And anyway, they're all coming in and they're signing up for this race. And all the big news agencies were there and everything, you know, and from America, you know, NBC, CBS, CNN, they were all there. And all of a sudden comes this guy walking over to the table. His name was Cliff Young, the rancher or station owner. He had bib overalls and he had galoshes on. And the galoshes were oversized because he got them from a friend. And so they were kind of loose. And so he couldn't really lift his foot up a lot because the galoshes would fall off. So he used to have to swish to make sure the galoshes stayed on his feet. So here comes old Cliff. He comes sloshing up to the, you know, the sign-up table. And he says, is this where they're going to have the big race? And the people say, oh, yes, sir, it is. What, do you have a friend like that? He said, no, me. And they go, I beg your pardon? He said, I want to sign up for the race. And they kind of looked at him and they said, you do? And he said, oh, yeah, I want to sign up. I'm a good runner. And just then, like CNN and NBC and stuff kind of heard them and said, hey, come here, let's go see, let's check this guy out. So they're all around there and they, the person sitting behind the desk says, what makes you think you're a good runner? And he says, well, at my station, it's not a big one, but I can't afford a horse. So I have to chase after my own chickens and cows and my chickens and turkeys and things like that. And I have to run after them. And I'm pretty fast. And they said, they start laughing a little bit. Okay, Cliff, if you say so, sign here. You know, so old Cliffy signs down there. And they're ready to start the race. And all these runners from all over the world are lined up. And there's old Cliff in his galoshes, you know, standing there ready to race. And the gun goes off. Bang! And everybody starts running. Now, this is a big race. I mean, this is, you know, 375 miles. And in this race, throughout the race, these runners, many of them that have run before, this race, they know that they have what they call the 18-6 rule. You run for 18 hours, you sleep for 6, you run for 18 hours, you sleep for 6. Anyway, Cliffy, he didn't know anything about the rule. Nobody told him about the rule. He just knows it's a race and you got to keep running. So he kept running and running and running and running. And all of a sudden, bada boom, bada bing, Cliffy wins the race. 600 kilometers. First place winner, Clifford Young. And the interesting thing is, and this is a fact, Cliff came in a day ahead of the nearest competitor. A day ahead of the nearest competitor. Isn't that fascinating? Now, another thing, and this is interesting, months later, when they started to analyze this, I mean, how could, your runners from all over the world that were great runners with all these fancy shoes and everything, how could Cliff win this thing, slushing with these galoshes? They found out something very interesting. In analyzing this on the computer and everything, they found out for the regular runners, when you lift your leg and you make that arc and put your foot back down on the ground as the other leg lifts up and makes an arc and goes down, you're expending all of that energy and wearing out the body. Where old Cliff, because the galoshes were so big, he couldn't lift his legs. He had a swish. And so he used a lot less energy. So they found out that was one of the great things that helped him win the race. And what's interesting is 5 years later, the second and third place winners won from swishing. Isn't that interesting? So there you go. So you don't have to always know everything, okay, to do something, okay? All you have to do is focus the light at the end of the tunnel. Know what you want to do. Cliff was determined to win that race. And so it was. Interesting. Let's see if we have any more questions here. Let's see. We're talking about aspiring actors. We're talking about the genres of my book and things like that. I think we're hitting most of them. That's good. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm going to be here for about 76 more minutes, I think. Yes, actually, I'll be here for a while. And I'm here to answer your questions. I need all the help I can get. If you have some answers for me, please let me know. I'm open. Okay. Again, we got another question here. May you please explain the reprogramming the subconscious? I'm really curious about this. Oh, okay. I'll do that again. The subconscious is the programming aspect of our being. Okay. The subconscious, which is separate from our brain, the subconscious is an interesting element because number one, we know about the subconscious that it never sleeps. It's forever on guard, 24/7. Okay, it never sleeps. It's always on duty. Number two, we know the subconscious doesn't know right from wrong, truth from falsehood, a joke from reality. In other words, the subconscious has no thinking capacity. Okay, it's not analytical. It can't think. All it is basically is a recorder and a programmer. So we know also, thanks to the Russian studies, when we're born, we come in with a matched set. The sound, the particular sound of our particular voice is tied directly to our subconscious. So whatever you say with your mouth goes in your ear and programs you. And this is why we're learning now that society, about 85 to 90% of society, programs themselves to fail every day of their life. Okay? And it's by what they're saying with their mouth. Saying things like, oh, I can't do that. Maybe when I was younger, I could do it, but now I'm older, I can't do it anymore. Okay, you can't do it. We just put a limit on ourselves. So if you remember nothing else, watch what you say with your mouth, because it will go out in your ear and program you. Okay, very, very important. Now, in my books, And in my private practice, we work with reprogramming the subconscious. How do you do that? You do that by virtually making a script, if you will, of affirmations based on your desires of what you want to be by the end of the program. Okay, where you want to be, what you want to do, whatever, by the end of the program. Okay, now, and obviously it's within reason. I mean, you can't say, I want to be, president of the United States or something. Maybe eventually you will be if you work towards or something, but it's not going to happen instantly. Okay, but we're talking about getting rid of an old habit or whatever. Okay, having a healthier life, this kind of stuff. You can program it by creating affirmations and then recording them. You could do that now on your telephone or whatever. Even buy a little portable recorder at Best Buy or some store, and recording it. And then here's the key: listening to it at least once a day for 30 days. And what you are doing, you are imprinting a new set of synapses, basically you're hardwiring that particular intent. Okay, I will be smoke free. Okay, you do that every day for 30 days. Your subconscious is hearing that, and it starts to hardwire that, and soon you become smoke free. Okay, so basically that's it. The books talk about it very specifically, step by step and everything else. I'd advise you get the books. It'll guide you through it, tell you how to do it and everything else, and it'll give you some case studies and so on and so forth. Okay, people that have done it and used it. I could tell you from experience, they have had phenomenal experiences, myself included, because I use the program. I reprogram myself periodically, and the experiences and results are phenomenal. It really does work. I've had people that literally, and I don't want to get into it here or something, but call me, email me and stuff, and we'll talk about it. But I've had people actually physically change aspects within their body, okay, regarding health and things like that. The Russians, the reason I got into this, I was reading a book about the Russian studies that were doing this, and there was a 45-year-old man that actually grew 3.5 inches by reprogramming himself. Now, I'm not sure that's going to happen all the time or whatever. He probably had a propensity to, to grow some more or whatever. I don't know. But nevertheless, I've seen some phenomenal results from reprogramming. It works wonderfully. So I certainly advise it. It's great for diets. It's absolutely great for diets if you phrase the affirmations in the right and perfect way. That's very important. I say an affirmation can't contain any negative words. You can't use the term not. If I say, do not think of a big pink elephant in your head, boom, suddenly a pink elephant's going to appear in your head, because the subconscious doesn't accept any negative words. It will do just the opposite. Okay, so if you say, I will not smoke, all the subconscious hears is, I will smoke. So be careful with that. Another question I saw just come up here. It says, waiting for more questions. Talk about the other book, Unleash the Super You Within. Okay, this book right here. Very interesting. This book basically is like a little workbook. This book it has some fill in the blank parts and everything else. And if you use this book and fill in the blanks and things, it will, number one, give you an assessment of where you're at this point in your life. Okay. Then if you go further and start to fill in more blanks and everything, answering the questions and things, it will start to show you what it is that you really want. Because a lot of times people have no idea. People say, I hate my life. And I say, well, what do you want? They say, I don't know. Well, how could you get it then? How could you get what you want if you don't know what you want? Okay. So this book will help you decide on some of your desires. And then beyond that, if you start filling in the blank, it will guide you towards your desired destination and help you to get there. Basically, I call it a blueprint. It will help to lay out a blueprint of where you want to be and how to get there. Okay, so it's a very important little book. Okay, Unleash the Super You Within. And again, it acknowledges all of our potentiality. Okay, it's amazing all the beautiful things we can do and everything inside of us, but we won't know until we start to bring it out and everything else. It's interesting. I talk a lot about the seeds and things. Like, you could get a bunch of mustard seeds, very tiny little things, put them in your hand there or something. Then you get a bunch of strawberry seeds, which are very tiny, put them in there and stuff. Then you get a bunch of petunia seeds, very tiny, put them in there and scramble it all up. And you show it to somebody and it looks like you got a handful of sand, okay? Because they're little tiny little dots. That's all it is. If you do nothing with that, that's all it's going to be. Tiny little dots, a handful of sand, nothingness. But if you take each one and plant it and let it get water and sun, in some cases, you're going to get this magnificent, big, green, beautiful mustard bush. In another case, you're going to get these delectable, delicious strawberries, red and juicy. And in another case, you'll get the wonderful, beautiful colors of the petunias with the wonderful aroma and everything else. All of these things that we didn't even know existed when you looked at your hand with just this little handful of like sand. Yeah, we don't know until you actually nurture them. Okay, and that's how it is with you. You came into this world prepackaged with all of this stuff in there. But unless you bring it out, we'll never know. We'll never know what you're capable of doing. And neither will you until you go for it. Okay? You got to try. And I'll tell you something, there's always fear involved. Okay? Because we're afraid of the unknown. Okay? That's very important. We have a fear. That's why we do the same thing every night. We sleep in the same bed, side of the bed every night. Okay, we probably sit in the same chair for dinner every night, things like that. We go to the same way to work every day and everything, because we tend to be creatures of habit because it's known. And when things are known, they're comfortable. When we do the unknown, it throws us off kilter. We tend to become afraid. Okay, and we don't like being afraid. So the unknown is always fearful. That's why the dark is fearful with the boogeyman. We don't know. We're not sure what's in the closet when the lights are off. We're not sure. So that's why, the child starts crying, it's dark in here. I don't know. There might be the boogeyman, What do you do as a parent? You come in, you turn the light on and you show them, see, there's nothing in here. They go, oh, okay, now I understand. Okay, so once we can reckon with the unknown, we're no longer afraid. But as long as it's the unknown, that's scary. See, and what's interesting, directors and producers of film, they know this. That's why the best monster is the one never seen. Because no director or producer, cinematographer, or anybody could make a monster as scary as what you could conjure up in your head. Plus, every person in the audience watching that movie, if they don't see the monster, but they know there's one there and everything, they're going to conjure up a different monster based on their fears. Maybe somebody is afraid of big, giant things, so they're going to see a big monster in their head or something. Maybe another person is afraid of crawling snakes and worms and things, so their monster is going to be something with a lot of tentacles and stuff like that. You understand what I'm saying? So again, in Hollywood, the best monster is the one never seen. Even in the movie Jaws, I think Jaws only showed, the actual Jaws, the shark is only shown like 18 seconds in the entire movie. The rest of the time it's dum 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 dum, and your heart's going like this, because you're conjuring up what it's going to look like. And that's how it is with any great monster movie. It's always the building and the suspense that's scaring the daylights out of you. Once you see the monster, no matter what it is or how elaborate they make it, you're going to start to reckon with it. Oh, yeah, I think I see the zipper on the back of his costume. Oh, yeah, look at that. Look at his toes are flapping. I bet that's latex just flopping up. Yeah, and then it's not going to become so scary. But as long as you can't see it, you can't reckon with it. Therefore, it is very scary. So it is with you, with the unknown. If you've never tried something, it's the unknown. Therefore, it's fearful. Okay? So I tell people, go for it anyway. Try it anyway so that it doesn't become fearful. If you've done it once or twice, you'll start to create a habit a little bit with it, and it'll become comfortable. It'll become your new comfort zone. You know, it's interesting. I used to do experiments with that all the time. You know, my wife used to think I was kind of a nut, you know, because like one day, you know, nighttime, it'd be time to get ready for bed or something like that. I'd come out of the bathroom, you know, and I'd jump in bed or something, you know, she'd go in the bathroom, and I'd be in the bed, and I'd go to the opposite side of where I normally sleep. Like, let's say I sleep on the left side of the bed. That particular night, I would sleep on the right-hand side of the bed. You know, my wife would come out of the bathroom, and she'd look, and she'd say, "What are you doing?" I said, "What do you mean, what am I doing? I'm going to go to sleep." She goes, "No, what are you doing on my side?" I said, "What do you mean your side? What, do you got your name on it or something?" I said, "I'm sleeping in bed. This is the bed. This is where we sleep. I'm sleeping." She says, "No, that's my side." I said, "What do you mean your side? What, do we have sides and everything? It's against the law. I can't sleep on this side. I feel like sleeping on this side tonight and everything." So anyway, she'd get in bed and shut the light off, and she'd say, "I can't sleep." I said, "What's the matter?" "I'm on the wrong side of the bed." "What do you mean the wrong side of the bed? It's the same bed on both sides. What, do you go to sleep?" "I can't sleep." Why? Because she was so used to that particular side. It's amazing. And that's how it is. And to be honest with you, I couldn't sleep on that side either. We finally ended up saying, okay, let's go back to the way it was and everything. We like our comfort zone. Okay? The unknown is always outside of our comfort zone. But I got to tell you something. The unknown is also always where success is. That's why a lot of us don't succeed. Because we're afraid of taking the chance. We're afraid of venturing out. You know, when I was an undergraduate at the University of Nevada, I had a professor, a real cool guy. He told me, he said, "Why not go out on a limb? That's where the fruit is." It made a lot of sense. Why not go out on a limb? That's where the fruit is. So in other words, what am I saying? I'm saying take chances. Okay? You've got to push the envelope a bit in order to succeed. You got to go into something new in order to succeed. If you don't, you'll have exactly where you're at now because it's your comfort zone and this is where you want to be. If you don't like it, push the envelope. Go a little further. Remember, you have everything it takes to be whatever it is you're desiring to be right inside you. But it takes courage. It takes courage. It's not easy. You know, this is Veterans Day. I was lucky enough to be in the service with some beautiful people, wonderful people. You know, some came back, some didn't. And I'm forever grateful. And we owe our freedom to these people. But, you know, they say courage is a coward running in the right way. Okay? In other words, courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you're afraid, but you do it anyway. That's what courage is all about. You're afraid, but you do it anyway. Okay? Any questions? Again, I need all the help I can get. Do you have any questions? Let me know. Okay? You have any answers? Help me, please. I could use it. Such a deal. Yeah. Interesting. You know, I'll tell you a little quick story. I told you I'm a veteran too. And in the old days, when I was old enough to be in the Army and everything else, they had the draft. And it's kind of interesting because the draft was a way they would send you a letter. That's how you got drafted. And it was really interesting because they always start out on a positive note. You know, I got my letter and you open it up and it says, "Greetings, your friends and neighbors have chose you." You know, like it's some great thing, like you won the lottery or something. But, and then on the bottom, it gives you directions and stuff, you know, and it says, "Be sure to bring an overnight bag with 2 changes of underwear," you know, and then in big print on the bottom, it says, "Be sure to mark your underwear with your name for identification purposes." I was so nervous, I didn't mark anything. I just took my stuff, threw it in the bag, and went down to basic training. And it was interesting, especially for mail call, because for mail call, they make you line up by your alphabetically, by your last name. And they used to always make me line up in the F line for Fruit of the Loom. Anyway, such is life. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm here. I'm going to be here for about 6 more minutes or so. Okay, I'm at your disposal. Again, what I will, ican.com. Okay, you'll find all kinds of information about the books, 3 different books, all based on self-actualization, how to become the best you could be. Assuming that's what you want to be. If not, you're exactly where you are today, because this is where you put yourself. Any questions? Answers? I'm here. You know, it's interesting. A lot of times people say, well, I want to do this or that, but I'm afraid. Of course you're afraid. Or they'll say, I want to do this or that, but I don't really know where I can get the help or something. And I'm going to tell you something. If you have a desire, there's something that makes your heart sing when you think about it and everything, if you focus on it enough, you're going to start to get inspirations. And believe it or not, the more you focus on that and everything, you'd be surprised of what you start to attract. Because we tend to attract what we're thinking about, okay? As they say, like attracts like, okay? So if you start thinking and visualizing the things you want, little by little hints are going to come. People are going to come into your life to help you along the way. But the key, and this is important, the key is staying open so that you can recognize these helps and these hints and these people and these opportunities. Okay, if you have blinders on, leave me alone. I don't want to do that. I've got to focus on this. This is what I want to be. You're going to miss a lot of these opportunities and things. And unfortunately, sometimes we get so locked in that we have blinders on that we miss all of these golden opportunities around us. And we don't see it because we tend to only see what we want to see. You know, this is interesting. Now, we're going to get a little technical here, okay? Basically, our brain gets, at any given time, any given second of the day or whatever, thousands upon thousands of information signals from all over our body, from our environment, from everywhere. I would venture to say even millions of signals, information pods coming in to our brain. Okay, your little toe is saying, hey, I'm itchy down here. The other one is saying, yeah, well, I'm all cramped up in my shoe. The other one, a signal is coming in saying, the back of my neck itches. The shirt is rubbing on my neck. Okay, another one is coming in from the nose saying, I'm going to sneeze and everything. You're getting all these signals, and another one is saying, boy, is it hot in here? And you're getting bombarded with these gazillion signals and everything. The mind would probably explode if it had to deal with all of these different messages coming in at the same time. So what we do in our infinite wisdom, the mind decides to take only those signals which it feels are important to you at this point in time, okay? And it blocks out all the rest. You could call it spam, if you will, okay? And so it puts up what we call scotomas or walls and blocks out all these other things and only lets in signals that are germane or purposely for you, specific of what you want to know, okay? Like you're waiting for a particular answer to something. If that answer comes, you're letting it in. The rest of the stuff you're blocking out, okay? So we tend to see only that which we want to see. And how do we create what we want to see and what we don't want to see? A lot of times we do it with our mouth. Again, we talked about programming, okay? And so if you say something with your mouth, you put it in your ear, you program your subconscious, and that's what you become, okay? It's almost like, you know, husband and wife. The wife's in the kitchen doing the dishes or something, and the guy's in the over at the dining room table paying the bills, right? And he's got all the bills out there, laying out there, and everything's laid out, and he's writing checks and paying these bills and stuff. And all of a sudden, he goes to pay another bill, and he says he needs to get his charge card out of his wallet or something. He says, where's my wallet? And he's looking around, he says, my wallet. I just lost my wallet. Where is my wallet? Son of a gun, how can I pay? I don't know where'd my wallet go? I can't find my wallet. And the wife in the kitchen is saying, what are you talking about? What are you mumbling about? And he yelled, I can't find my wallet. And she comes over and she goes, what? He said, I can't find my wallet. She looks down, she says, oh, really? What's this? And she hands him his wallet. We've all been there, right? We've all had incidences like that. Why couldn't he see his wallet? His eyes were open. Your peripheral vision goes, through all of this 180-degree span. Why couldn't he see his wallet? He told himself he couldn't see his wallet. He said, I lost my wallet. Okay, you won't be able to see it. So even when his eyes are there looking at his wallet, he actually did not see it. Now, isn't that interesting? He put up a blinder in his mind not to see that wallet because he told himself it was lost and he couldn't see it. So therefore, it's your subconscious job to get you to what you say. So it says, okay, I guess we can't see the wallet. Boom, he couldn't see it. So be careful of what you say. Be careful of what you see and start to open your mind to everything you want when you're going to go there. Say, I'm open to any opportunities or anything, and stay open as help comes along. Because if you're focused on things like I can only see this because that's where I'm going and everything, all the opportunities and everything are going to be blind to you. It's almost like the old story. It's interesting. There was this little Italian farmer, in the middle of nowhere, middle of the field. He's got his little bitty tiny house and farm and everything, a small town and everything. And it's the rainy season and the rains are coming and everybody's expecting a big flood. And little Uncle Nunzio lives all by himself and he's in the house, but everybody likes him. He's a nice guy. And all of a sudden it starts raining like crazy. A lot of rain coming down, right? All of a sudden the sheriff says, hey, it's getting really bad. Somebody better go out to Nunzio there. He's kind of in the lowland. You better tell him and bring him into town because his place could flood. So they say, okay. So one of the deputies gets in the Jeep, drives over to Nunzio's house, knocks on the door, knock, 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 knock. Nunzio opens the door. Yeah, what do you want? He says, hey, Nunzio, come on, get in the Jeep. We're going to take you to higher ground. It's going to flood over here. Nunzio looks at him and says, no, that's okay. I don't think it's going to be too bad. The big boss, God, he's going to take care of me. You go ahead, save somebody else. Okay, the Jeep takes off. It rains all day and it rains all night. The water's already up past the porch of Nunzio's house. Sure enough, a deputy comes by in a rowboat. Gets over by Nunzio's house, takes out the bullhorn. Hey, Nunzio! Nunzio opens the door. What do you want? Come on, get in the boat. We're going to take you to higher ground. It's raining too hard. Nunzio says, no, that's okay. I think it'll rain. She's all done. She's going to stop pretty soon. The big boss, God, he's going to take care of me. Okay, suit yourself. The deputy goes on. Well, it rains all day. It rains all night. The water's all over the top of the house practically, and there's just a little point of the house left on top, a little bit of the roof. And Nunzio's sitting on that, in the middle of the rain. Luckily, a helicopter comes by with the deputy. Again with the bullhorn. Nunzio, grab onto the ladder. We'll pull you up and take you to higher ground. Nunzio says, no, that's okay. That's all right. You go save somebody else. I'm going to stay here. The big boss, he's going to take care of Nunzio. I'm fine. Go ahead. Okay, the helicopter takes off. The water rises and Nunzio drowns. Can you imagine? Now, this guy, let me tell you, when he gets up into heaven, he's one angry guy. He goes right up to God and he says, hey, boss, how come I place all of my faith in you and you let me drown? And God looks at him and says, Nunzio, what do you want from me? I sent you a Jeep. I sent you a boat. I sent you a helicopter. Get the idea? Okay, we have another question. For your personal experience, sir, did you ever encounter a person who really pushes your button, and how do you handle it? Good point. Thank you. We all have that, okay? I believe, as Einstein said, everything is energy. We all vibrate at different energies and everything. And that's what makes a good relationship. Sometimes people say, oh, we have good vibes, and So that's kind of neat. It's the vibration thing. Sometimes you find a person who you can feel almost their energy. It's negative, oh, he has terrible vibes. I get a bad vibe from him. Okay, that kind of stuff. But if the person is kind of pushing your buttons and everything, I say, first of all, if it's at all possible, get away from that person, because you're vibrating at a different vibration, and no matter what the person says and everything, it's going to be different. It's going to agitate you, and nobody wants that kind of aggravation or agitation. So get away the best you can. If it says really pushes your buttons, I would say don't get into a confrontation, certainly. I have friends like that are almost diametrically opposed to almost everything I say and do as far as ideas and things. And we at times will just look at each other and we'll say, let's agree to disagree. And they say, fine. And then we just move on to another subject. Okay? So I would say, some people are dead set in antagonizing you, or dead set in sticking to their way, proving that you're wrong or proving that you're an idiot or something. If you encounter somebody, I try to get out of, just remove yourself from the situation best you can. But on the other hand, I tell people, if you're the person, for example, let's say you're at a party, a cocktail party or something, dinner party, and some guy is boasting and bragging about everything he does or something, and he's naming things, and he says something that you know absolutely to be false, to be untrue. His fact is totally wrong. You have to think about it. You have to say, do I want to go there and correct him and say, you're wrong, it's da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da? What is going to be the result? Is it going to humiliate him and make him feel small that you shot him down in front of his friends and everything, and make you a big man and famous because, wow, you know what you're talking about, and he's wrong? Or is it better just to ignore it at the moment and let it go, because that's his thing and he needs to be stroked a little bit for his ego? Okay? I always say, when you're in a situation like that, do you want to be right or do you want to be kind? For me, kindness is always better. Okay? Do you want to be right or do you want to be kind? What have you gained if you've proved the person wrong and lost a friend? Or what have you gained if you proved a person wrong and humiliated him in front of his family and friends? Okay? That type of thing. So think about it. Again, you said if a person pushes your buttons, what do? I say try to remove yourself from the situation. Don't stay there and confront and go back and forth, because it's a never-ending battle. You just have to basically agree to disagree. Okay? Any other questions? I'm here. I'll be here for quite a while. I guess I'll be here for at least 76 more minutes and everything. I'm at your disposal. Any questions you have, any answers you have, I need all the help I can get. I'm here for you. Again, talking about whatIwillIcan.com. Go to that website, please, and check it out. You'll find a lot of helpful information there. Most important, you'll find a lot of commentaries from people who bought the books and are using them, and you can hear firsthand how it affects their life. And to me, that's what it's all about. Like they say, the proof of the pudding is in the tasting. These are people that actually use this stuff, and they talk about how it works and how it helps them. So don't just listen to me, okay? Again, the 3 books, What I Will I Can, Unleash the Super You Within, and Tools for Life. I'm here. Any questions? I'm listening. Thank you. I have another question coming in. Any suggestions on what activity can be done to turn our negative thoughts in mind, to make our negative thoughts in mind gone and turn to a positive? Well, again, yes, as I mentioned earlier, the mind can't hold 2 thoughts at the same time. Your mind can only hold 1 thought at a time. If you get a negative thought, the idea is to have one in abeyance or in reserve, a positive thought. something that brings you joy, something that makes you feel good, something you want to remember from your childhood, from your past, whatever. Lock into a particular thing. And so when you get that negative thought, you could suddenly bring the other one in and start to think about it. And it'll start to eradicate the negative thought and push it aside. Okay? So in other words, you need to get rid of that negative thought instantly. Because what happens is thoughts tend to magnify if we dwell on them. Okay? And as I mentioned earlier, if you're near sitting next to a fireplace and an ember bounces out of the fire and hits you on your sweater or your shirt or something, if you leave it alone, it's going to start to burn and get bigger and bigger and bigger until finally it ruins the entire, making a big hole, right? But if you suddenly dust it off instantly when it hits you, no harm done. Same thing with a negative thought. If you allow it to stay in your head and you elucidate on it, you let it get bigger and bigger and dwell on it and everything else, it's going to cause you a lot more anguish and a lot of problems. But if you instantly put in a positive thought, the negative thought tends to go away. So have some ready-made thoughts that really bring you joy. If you could add feeling to them, it's a wonderful thing. Think about something from your childhood, from your marriage, from your kids, from life, your job, whatever. That was really a nice moment for you. Come up with a nice moment that you like to dwell on that gives you good joy. Put that in and it supersedes the negative thought and kind of overrides it. Okay? So that's my answer. Instantly kind of bring in a second thought because the mind can only hold one thought at a time. Remember that. Okay? Any other questions? I'm here for you. I don't want to say I'm here for you all day. I'll be here for 76 more minutes. Let's see. Okay, we talked about pushing your buttons. We got another one here. It says, what if these people are one of your family members or coworkers? I mean, you just can't avoid them. What's the best communication? Very, very interesting because we all have members in our family or coworkers who just push our buttons. Okay, they just agitate or aggravate us just to be near us. And a lot of times, literally, that's what it is physically. As I mentioned before, we all vibrate at different vibrations. And Einstein said everything in the world is a vibration. Sometimes somebody could come near us and it just creates a discord with us. We just don't mesh at all. Where, again, the converse is true with a loved one or something. You say, wow, we just kind of connect. She has such good vibes. He has such good vibes. We just kind of mesh. We're harmonic. And that's wonderful. But if you have a person in your family or a coworker that you just can't physically avoid, the best thing to do, number one, is don't get confrontational because they're not going to change their ways. Okay. And it's just going to escalate and make things a lot worse. The best thing is to, you've heard people say, I'm going to kill them with kindness or something, is to try to just radiate a little more positive atmosphere. Smiling a lot it's amazing. We tend to generate what we think about. Okay. We basically radiate what we think about. We create an energy or a vibration in response to how we're thinking. So if we think happy, positive thoughts, we tend to radiate that. And other people pick up on that. We can feel other people's vibrations and stuff. It's like, you ever been in a hotel lobby or something, you're sitting down and you just feel like somebody's looking at you and you turn around and whoops, sure enough, you saw they were looking at you. So vibrations are very important. They're based on how we think. So you can, if you get a person that you just can't avoid, who's always harping on you or driving you nuts and you just can't get away from it or anything, at least you can cushion that by sending out a positive barrier or positive energy, which kind of blocks a little bit of their negativity coming into you. Okay. And how do you do that? Well, it's what I call Mr. G. They used to call me Mr. G, my long name, GIAMPAPA. Mr. G's tip for the day. We do it by smiling. They've actually proved, and with technology now, that a smile can raise the energy in a room. Okay, it can raise the energy in a room. Now, here's the interesting thing. Okay, for us too, it'll help us, because if that person is starting to annoy you just by being with you, you're going to start to feel bad inside. Your stomach's going to start to twist and turn everything. And physiologically, you're going to start to feel bad. Okay, if you smile, your body automatically starts to produce positive chemicals in your system. They're called neuropeptides for the most part, which are some of the most powerful chemicals your body can make. And they're healing chemicals. They bring you joy. They bring you happiness. They bring you a feeling of goodness and happiness. Okay, now, this is interesting. How do you do it? Simply this: when we're born, we all come into this world with our own particular smile. Okay, now let's say my particular smile is this. You know, just say, that's my smile. Okay, when I'm born and I make that smile, I have built into my face little contact points inside that when I smile, I'm touching those contact points. It sends a signal to my brain, hey, we must be happy. The brain says, okay, I'll start putting adrenaline in the system. I'll start producing neuropeptides, and zoom, zoom, zoom. And if you keep that smile for 30 seconds, you literally start to change your metabolism inside and bring in some happy. You start to get more animated, you smile, you feel a little more euphoric and everything else. It really does work. So I would say when you're near a person who agitates you, you can't get away from that person or anything, smile your best smile, just kind of nod and radiate. Not only radiate that he or she will pick up on that and feel that, but you will help yourself by making positive chemicals in your system, which will help you to feel much better than ulcers and tormenting and everything else. Okay, but that's a good question. Thank you very much. Yeah, we all have people like that, especially like you say in our families. And you can't get rid of your family. You've got to deal with it, but you don't have to accept it. You don't have to accept it. You could build a shield, a positive energy shield around you. Okay, any other questions? Any answers? I'm here. Another question. Oh, thank you for you're certainly welcome. You're certainly welcome. Thank you. Again, I certainly don't have the answers to everything. I'm here like you. I'm going through life myself. But all we can do is share. And that's what these books are all about. Sharing things that through the years I find work for other people, have worked for me. Take them, use them. If they work for you, wonderful. If not, don't worry about it. Throw them away. Go for something else. Okay? But seriously, I'm very happy to share these books with the world because we've had a lot of successes with some of the things we talk about in the books. And we're all here to help each other. Okay? Like they say, nobody gets out of life alive. We're here. As long as we're here, let's work together. Let's cooperate. Because basically, let's face it, life is a cooperation, not a competition. A lot of people don't understand that, okay? Some people say it's a dog-eat-dog world and everything, and it's not. Actually, we're finding now that in the jungles and everything, animals and everybody live in harmony. They only take what they need for food, and that's it. The rest of the time, everything is pretty harmonious, okay? It's not a dog-eat-dog world. Lily Tomlin said, we often talk about the rat race, and she says, if you win the rat race, you're still a rat. Think about it. So don't buy into all the hype. A lot of people think that they elevate themselves by stepping down on others and pushing others down. No, nothing could be further from the truth. Life is not a competition. It's a cooperation. You came into this world incredibly unique. And nobody on the face of this earth is exactly like you. There never has been, and there never will be. You are a totally unique individual, and that doesn't make you weird. It makes you incredibly awesome. With little kids, I talk about diamonds a lot of times. I'll say, let's assume there are only 100 really good diamonds in the world. Okay, the very best of the best of the best. Okay, would they be special? Oh, you bet. Of course they would. But let's take it even further. What if there are only 20 diamonds in the whole world? Wow, wouldn't they be special? Who would own them? Where would they be? Who, how much would they cost? All of this. Wow, would they be unique? How about if there are only 5? Whoa, what continents would they be on? Who would own them? How would they be guarded? Wouldn't they be absolutely special? You know they would be. But what if there was only 1 diamond in the entire world? Wouldn't that be an awesome thing? Wouldn't that be special? Wouldn't that be unique? You know where I'm going with this. That's exactly what you are. You are a one-of-a-kind, incredible gem, unlike any other person on the face of this earth. That makes you so special. You literally are a gift to this planet. We have another question. How powerful are the words coming from someone? Oh, wow, very powerful. Okay, be very careful with your words. Like I say, not only because they go in your ear, what you say go in your ear and program you, but other people's words, they can really hurt and they can really damage. Okay, so choose your words wisely. Very important. People say, oh, they're just words. No, it's more than that. Words can be very hurtful. Words are like bullets, and once they're out of your mouth, you can't take them back. Okay, once you say it to somebody and they hear it, you can say I'm sorry and everything, but still they heard it. Okay, so be very careful with words, because words are incredibly powerful. Okay, I tell people to watch that, and especially, I don't know about you, but as far as a lot of profanity and stuff like that, I certainly am not a prude or anything, but when I used to teach middle school and stuff, it seemed like every other word was effing this and effing that and everything. And I used to tell my kids right at the beginning of the year, I used to say, a lot of times the F word is used as an adjective because you can't think of the actual word that should go in there, I said. So when you hear a person swearing a lot, it's because they don't really have a big vocabulary. And I would tell them, I say, you have the right not to be stupid. So I say, if we don't hear a lot of swear words, it means you have a pretty healthy vocabulary because you know the right words to use. And so they would look at it and, oh, okay, yeah. So it made kind of sense. I always would use little things like that. It was interesting because I grew up in a kind of the rough part of town. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, Cicero, Al Capone's town. Okay, there were a lot of gangs and everything, a lot of tough guys and everything. And my only saving grace was I'd use humor a little bit. Okay, as a matter of fact, later on, I became a stand-up comedian and made my living off of that for years. But I remember one time I had a guy with about 5 guys, gang, all leather jackets, tough guy and everything, and I was always a little guy. Came up to me and he grabbed me by the, by the neck and was going to pick me up and everything. And I was waiting for a bus. And in those days, I think it was 30 cents. He had like 3 dimes and stuff. And that was for my bus money. And he grabbed me by the collar and pulled me up and he'd say, if I reach in your pocket and grab the dimes, they're mine, right? And I look at him and he said, every dime I get, I keep, right? And I thought about it and I looked at him and I said, okay. And he put me down. I said, but, and he goes, what? I said, every dime you don't find, you give me a quarter. And he goes, huh? I said, every dime you don't find in me, you give me a quarter. And so he looks at me and he lets go and he walks away and says, let's go. This kid's nuts. So basically that was kind of my saving grace. Sometimes you got to use humor a little bit to kind of ease away from the situation. It's interesting. But yeah, you gotta watch your words, going back to what you said. Certainly, words can be extremely hurtful. And words can be very, very damaging. Shakespeare said a rose by any other name would be just as sweet. I certainly, I get what he was trying to say, but I certainly don't agree with that because we do tend to put a lot of emphasis on what the word means. I mean, let's face it, if you pick up a flower, how quick would you be to bring it to your nose and smell it if it was called caca, instead of rose? I don't know, but seriously. So think about it. Words are very, very important. Okay, so use your words wisely. And I always say, do you want to be right or do you want to be kind? Kindness always works best. Try to use words that comfort people. Even if you're an employer, a boss or something, and you have to tell a person about something they did wrong or something, rather than just come right out and start yelling at them or point out their what they did wrong, I always say use a sandwich. I call it a sandwich. Start out first with something positive, like I really like what you did with the report yesterday. However, and then you tell what was wrong, and then you close with a positive. Okay, and that makes it always a lot better and easier for the person to digest. You don't just go at them with some harsh words. Why you stupid, blah, 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 negative thing. No, because words can be incredibly damaging. And more than that, as we're growing up, we might hear from our parents, unfortunately, or friends, neighbors nearby, boy, you're stupid. You're one of the goofs. You're absolutely a numbhead and everything else. You can hear it and everything, and it has an effect on you, but not really strong until you buy into it. And finally, if you start saying, yeah, I guess I am a numbhead, I am stupid, I am, then, okay, you are stupid, then we start imprinting, and then that's where the trouble begins. Okay? No opinion in the world means anything except yours. So be very careful with words, okay? Because especially if you say it with your mouth, it goes in your ear and programs you. So try to use words that are positive, life-giving, rather than life-taking. That goes for your friends, your family, and yourself, okay? Watch your words. Again, very, very important. Any other questions? I'm here for you, okay? Any answers? I need all the help I can get. As I said, yeah, words are kind of interesting, and we have to watch how we phrase the words as well, because words have different meanings. A meaning of a particular word, if somebody says a word, it means something in my head, and it might be slightly different in another person's head, okay? For example, if I say, picture a big dog, close your eyes and picture a big dog, you're going to think of a big dog, maybe a terrier or something, right? Somebody else might be thinking of a big dog, like a St. Bernard or something, okay? So it's going to be different for everybody because words are just symbols, and you have to watch that, okay? Let's see, something else here. What is the best suggestion for someone who is shy enough to communicate or speak up their thought? Oh, this, okay. You want me to address what happens if a person's really shy and can't really communicate their thoughts and stuff? This is so important. It's incredible. I had a principal. I taught at a middle school a couple of years. I remember that. God bless the principal. He was a wonderful man. He saw how important it was for people to be able to communicate, excuse me, and speak their mind. So I used to teach a class called oral expression. In other words, speaking at ease in front of people and stuff. And he mandated that every single student in that school went through my class. And it was a 6-week class. And it was so wonderful. I kid you not, 30 years, 40 years later, I'm getting letters from people saying, thank God I had that class. They said that class helped me more than anything else. Because I used to use what I call the backdoor method for helping people to talk without being afraid. Okay. For someone who is shy enough to communicate or speak their thoughts, the first thing I tell people, because I teach public speaking as well, the first thing I tell people is it's not about you. So get your mind off of yourself, first of all, because if you're thinking of yourself, when you think about it, that's really egotistical, because it's not about you. It's about your message. You are merely a vehicle for conveying a message. You basically are like a telephone, television, teletype. You are conveying a message. You are merely an instrument to convey a message. So it's not about you. So get your mind off of you, because if you're focused on you, you have the wrong focus. The idea is to focus on what the message is, okay? So if you focus on the message rather than on you, first of all, it's going to take away some of the tension and nervousness, okay? Because you're focused on getting the message out. You don't get nervous when you're at the supermarket with the cashier and, you couldn't find the pork and beans, okay? You don't pre-think, well, I'm going to go up to the cashier and wave my right hand and say, wait a minute, I can find, and use my left hand and wave it in front of me. No, you just go up there and say, excuse me, I can't find the pork and beans. No, because you're focused on the message. As long as you stay focused on the message, it's going to reduce a lot of your anxiety, okay? Secondly, on the other hand, when we're nervous, it's because we have adrenaline in our bodies. Every single one of us walks around with what I like to think of as a little box of adrenaline somewhere. I like to say it's somewhere in our head. Maybe it's, who knows where it is. Maybe it's in our shoulder. We don't know. Okay, you all have this little pack of adrenaline in you somewhere, and it's in there for emergency purposes. It goes all the way back to the days of the caveman with the fight or flight syndrome, okay? It's emergency adrenaline. The moment you become afraid, the moment you become a little distraught, that adrenaline opens up and the pump starts going and it starts pouring adrenaline into your system, okay? The moment you become afraid, it's boom, boom, boom. It's pumping adrenaline throughout your system, okay? It's automatic. It automatically happens. You have no control of it. The moment you become afraid, your system starts to fill with adrenaline. Now, the interesting thing is that pump doesn't know when to shut off. I mean, you could be totally full of adrenaline. What's going to happen? Is it going to come shooting out of your ears? No, because the pump's still going. You're going to have to get rid of all the excess adrenaline. Now, the adrenaline is a very interesting thing. The only way you can get rid of adrenaline is to burn it, because adrenaline is fuel. So how do you burn it? You burn it by body movement. Turning of the head, raising, smiling your face, moving your arms, kicking, everything else, okay? Now, if you are not doing this and you still have this excess adrenaline in you, your body automatically says, we'll take care of it. We'll burn off the adrenaline. And so your body starts to shake. First your hands and then your feet. And if that's not enough, pretty soon your whole body, you're shaking. What you're doing, excuse me, you're burning off all the excess adrenaline until you do what you're supposed to be doing. You got the idea? Now, in show business, I told you I was a stand-up comedian for years. You'd be waiting in the wings. I can remember an exact instant where I was in Germany. I was backstage with a German entertainer, and he was just about ready to be announced. And he looked at his hand, and his hand was shaking, and he said, all right. And then he went out on stage. Entertainers actually use adrenaline for their benefit, okay? There's a saying that says if you're not nervous when you walk out on stage, that's the time you're done. If you're not nervous when you walk out on stage, that's the time you don't belong on stage. Every entertainer gets nervous with the adrenaline, but they know that they have all this adrenaline in them, which is going to make them more positive, more animated, more different intonations with the voice than they ever were when they talked to the mirror or gave their speech to the dog or whatever, because now they have all this extra adrenaline. This is why, for example, when you were in elementary school or school and you got up and you gave a book report and you were nervous and everything else, and you gave your whole book report and you sat down and you said, how was I? And your friend says, you were terrific. And you say, I was? They say, yeah, it's amazing. You moved around, you talked, you had a lot of inflection in your voice. That's because your body was using every instant possible to get rid of adrenaline. So you're going to smile more, you're going to be more animated, your voice is going to inflect up and down more and everything else. In other words, you are going to be better than you ever were when you practice to the mirror or practice your speech to the dog or whatever. So don't be afraid to speak your thoughts, because you will go into automation, as we call it, and you will do a much better job than you could ever have believed you would do. Okay. You have to learn to trust yourself. I hope that helps. Okay. Yeah. Again, we used to, like I say, put every student through that. And they would come by from high school or something and say, I just want to thank you for that class because it sure helped me, do book reports, or it helped me give this report or that report. So remember that adrenaline is our best friend. And in other words, a lot of times, if you're, let's say, behind a podium and you're giving a talk and you say, oh, I'm going to be scared to death. What do I do? Well, you have all this adrenaline in there and you can't suddenly start waving your arms and everything. So how do you get rid of it? You start focusing where you want this adrenaline to go. I tell people, squeeze your toes back and forth in your shoes. Nobody's going to know you're even doing it. And what's happening is you're expending a lot of adrenaline and it's going down to your feet, and the rest of you is calm as anything. Okay? Because you are focusing all your adrenaline that way. So the rest of you is calm. Okay. One time I told you I was an entertainer. I was a stand-up comedian and I was based out of Europe. I lived in London at the time, and I was also an actor. I used to do commercials and things, little movies and stuff. I remember one time I did a commercial where I was some American guy supposed to enjoy some new kind of tea or something. And I had the saucer and the teacup, and I'm in front of the camera and everything. And while they're getting everything ready, I noticed the teacups going, because I was a nervous wreck, right? So right away I'd say, okay, Joe, get control of yourself. So I start channeling it down to my feet, and I'd be squeezing my toes in and out of my shoes and everything, even my cheeks back and forth. And nobody could see that, I'd squeeze them tight, open them, and everything else. And the rest of me was totally calm on top. And when I did the commercial, taking a sip of tea and putting the cup down and saying, this is wonderful tea and blah, blah, blah. When it was done, the director came up to me and he actually complimented me. He said, wow. He said, you Americans are incredible. He said, you were so calm and everything. And I said, thank you very much, and walked away. And I was a nervous wreck. But so learn to channel that energy, okay? And say what you have to say, because if you have this inkling to say something, it obviously is worthwhile, and the rest of us need to hear it. Another question. I have a 4-year-old toddler. What tips can you give me to help him improve practice his focus? My son's attention span is really short. Well, welcome to the world. Okay, I blame so much of that on the media. We're creating short attention spans, not only in small children, but in adults as well. It used to be there were 90-second sound bites on the news. In other words, the news stories were 90 seconds long. Then they went to 60-second sound bites. And then now they're down to like 30-second sound bites. And so everything's getting shorter, quick. We're being conditioned on a daily basis from all of this on television, even commercials. The standard commercial was 60 seconds or 30 seconds. Now we're seeing 15-second commercials and even 5-second commercials, just enough to get the name, the product, and a visual, and so on and so forth. So we have to watch. Your son is basically a victim of society, if you will, with the short attention spans. Everybody has that. I don't really know what the fix is at this point in time, other than to play with your son or work with your son on a project or something in a sustained manner and keep him involved by talking to him and interacting with movement and motion and things like that to kind of captivate his attention, to stick with you. But he basically is a product of our society, if you will, unfortunately, and adults are having the same issue, if you will. Okay, the short attention span. I have a 15-year-old grandson that, boy, to try to sit and have him watch a movie is, he's looking around and everything else, grabbing his phone, on the phone and everything. And it could be, something that he was really interested in years before. But a short attention span, I think, is a major problem for not only our society, but in Europe too, you find the same thing. So it's kind of a worldwide thing. I don't know what the answer is, to be honest with you, how to improve someone's attention span, other than keep them occupied as long as you can with different things. If it is something monotonous that's happening over and over again, they will automatically sway from it. Okay, that happens to us in school. Okay, in college, in school, high school, whatever, we've all had teachers that were monotone. Hello, thank you for coming to class. I'm going to tell you, and it's as boring as anything. They don't move. They're not animated or anything. They look like they're a dead carcass or something, with just, some audio coming out of their mouth that some recorder is in there or something. But the more you can use different, what's the word I'm looking for? Taste, touch, smell, all of these things. I just lost my train of thought there. The more we can engage people's eyes, their ears, their body, their feeling, the more of these we can engage, the more focus they'll have. Okay? If you get a monotonistic teacher who's standing there like a statue, there's nothing for the eye to do. So your eyes, in normal thing, you're a normal human being, your eyes are going to do one of two things. They're either going to disengage, so you're going to close your eyes and go to sleep, which a lot of students would do, or you're going to start looking out the window or finding something that's animated and moving around to keep your eyes' attention. Okay? So it's your job then as a teacher to make sure when you're talking, you're walking around a little bit, you're using your hands and everything. That way you're engaging the eyes. Okay? When you're talking, you're obviously engaging the ears. Okay, the idea is to try to engage as many different things within your child or the student or whatever to hold their attention. Their visual, their ears, their feeling. So what are the five? There's taste, touch, hearing, sight, and I forget what the others are, but you get the drift. The more we can engage the person, the more their focus will be locked on us. Okay? I hope that that helps you out. Okay? Because I used to train a lot of public speaking and everything, and I had the pleasure of training teachers before they became teachers at the university. It was the last semester before they became teachers. It was called the General Methods classes of how to teach, and actually we called them survival classes. Okay? But different techniques of how to hold your students' interest. So, there's a lot of different ways we can do that. Again, the more we can engage their senses, the more senses we can use, the more they're going to stay focused. Okay. Any other questions? I'm here for you. I'll be here for another few minutes. Okay, about 6 more minutes and everything, but I'm at your disposal. Again, I deal with self-actualization. Please go to whatiwillican.com. A lot of information on there. Like I say, the best part for me are the commentaries, because those are people who have the books, who use the books, and you hear firsthand from them with how the books worked for them. Okay, and that's bottom line. Okay, we all want to use things that help us and work for us. Okay, so again, whatiwillican.com. The 3 books are just that. That's the name of one book, What I Will I Can. The other is Tools for Life, and the other is Unleash the Super You Within. Okay, I want you to understand just how special you are. Nelson Mandela, in his inaugural address, he said, our greatest fear is not that we're inadequate, but that we're more powerful than we can ever believe. And that's the truth. I think now, especially with COVID and everything, people have relegated themselves to think of themselves basically almost as victims. Like, what can I do about it? There's so much you could do about your life, about everything, because you are so much. But we'll never know unless you start to bring them out. As I mentioned early on, Zig Ziglar, one of our greatest motivators, he said, it's so sad that so many people go to their graves with their songs unsung. And you think about it, how sad it is indeed. How many inventions are lost? How many concertos are lost? How many beautiful books are lost because the people didn't go for it? Okay? Because they were afraid. They were afraid of the unknown. And the unknown scares everybody. Okay? But that's where success lies. in the field of the unknown. So you got to go for it. You got to start to believe in yourself. Again, as I said, everybody's got an opinion about us. Don't listen to it because it's usually wrong in the first place. The only opinion you need to worry about is your own. And hopefully you'll start to think of just how special you are, because you are. That's how you came into this world. You came into this world an incredible human being with all these skills and talents and everything. It's absolutely amazing. Okay, learn to wallow in that. Learn to appreciate that. Learn to love that. Learn to love yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. It has nothing whatsoever to do with conceit. Okay? Because let's face it, you didn't create you. Okay? God created you. The universe created you. Your mom and dad created you. Whatever, but not you. Okay? So it's okay to appreciate all that you are. Because you're this wonderful, intelligent human being. Relish in that. You know, be your own best friend. Imagine how far you could go if you're your own best friend instead of your worst enemy or your biggest critic. You know, unfortunately, we have a tendency to criticize ourselves more than anybody else. Not anymore. Learn to become your own best friend because you're the only one that's going to be with you for the rest of your life. Let's face it. Right? Why not learn to get along with yourself? It's interesting. Learn to become your own best friend. That's what it's all about. Learn to focus on what it is you really want out of life. It doesn't have to be anything monetary or anything, you know, and you are not your job. A lot of people equate themselves with their jobs. You are not their jobs. Maybe you came into life, maybe you're an accountant or something, but you came into this life to be the peacemaker. Well, that's not a job, quote unquote, but yet that's what you are. You're the peacemaker. You could be a peacemaker on the job, with the family, at school, whatever. Okay? So a lot of times what we're meant to become and everything has nothing to do with our job. So don't confuse your job with who you are, because that's another thing. So many people equate themselves with what they do, and then when they lose their job, they're lost. They lose their identity. I used to work with the state for people that were downsized, that were making, you know, a couple of $100,000 a year, executives and everything, and then suddenly they were downsized and they find themselves now out of work. They're 50, 60 years old. They can't get another job in their mind. So, you know, they're totally lost. And you think, no, you are not your job. You are still this beautiful, intelligent being. Nothing's changed. You can still do anything you want. Has nothing to do with age, has nothing to do with the color of your skin, has nothing to do with your education. You come into this world pre-packaged, and it's an awesome package. Okay? Think about that, if you will. Okay? Because actually, when you think about it, like I say, you have so many different skills and things, and you didn't create them. You came into the world with those things. But we don't know all that you're capable of until you apply them or bring them out or try them. So many people are afraid to even try. But failure is an inherent part of success. And most specifically, to really be successful takes a string of failures. Understand that. A string of failures tends to equal success. Okay, that's very important. And learn to laugh a lot. Okay, I see people now more, especially because of COVID and everything, that walk around, you know, they never crack a smile even, and they're so serious, and you think, how sad. How sad, because we can't even touch anybody anymore. You know, I'm Italian. I grew up, you know, hugging and touching and everything, and it's been a rough couple of years for me, you know, because people are afraid to touch now or move or get close to anybody. And you think, wow, how sad, because we need each other. We are social beings, okay? We're meant to come together, to share, to touch, everything else. And at least if we can't do it physically, we could do it with words and joy and happiness. Because as I mentioned, how you think, you create your energy. And so our energy, we should radiate happiness. We should radiate love. We should radiate kindness. And, you know, I got to tell you something about laughter. I told you originally I started out as a stand-up comedian. I made my living off of comedy for years. I worked out of the Midwest, and then I toured all over Germany when I was in the military, doing all the the military bases, and then I lived in England and went all around there again, all around Europe, based in England. And it was interesting because I find myself sometimes being interviewed on a television show or something, and we'd be talking, and I'd use the term comedic. And then it dawned on me, gee, if you separate those syllables, you get co-medic. Comedy is medicinal. And it's like, duh. Yeah, we've all heard the saying, comedy's the best medicine. The creator, somebody who made us did something right. They thought about something, because comedy, laughter, and humor actually has incredible benefits. It's not just fluff. When we laugh, we produce neuropeptides in our system. Neuropeptides are some of the most positive healing chemicals our body can make. You understand that? When we laugh, we produce neuropeptides into our system. I'll tell you another thing. Tears of joy have a different chemical composition than tears of sorrow. Doesn't that tell you something? The body is a pharmacy. It's forever making chemicals in our body, either life-giving or life-taking, based on our thoughts, based on our emotions. So watch what you think about and everything. Learn to be happy and to laugh, okay? It's so important. Laughter is so key. There's a fantastic book called Jumpstart Your Mind. It's written by a guy by the name of Doug Hall. I strongly recommend it, okay? He's kind of the guru of the Fortune 500 company. He works a lot with these people, okay? And basically, he tells them that thinking cognitively all the time on something will actually impede coming up with solutions. The best way to get solutions is to relax your mind and do something fun. Watch some funny movies, laugh a lot, and then come back and tackle the problem, and you'll be like 5 times more creative, okay? As a matter of fact, statistically, we're told that the average 5-year-old, we are the most creative at 5 years old, okay? So we're told that we are at our creative best at 5 years old. But we're also told, based on research, the average 5-year-old laughs as much as 110 times a day. Now you got that? We're the most creative at 5 years old. The average 5-year-old laughs as much as 110 times a day. Now, we find out with research that by time we're 40, we lose as much as 80% of our creativity, and the average 40-year-old and above laughs less than 5 times a day. Think about that. You getting any message here? Again, a 5-year-old, the most creative you'll ever be, tend to laugh 110 times a day. By the time we're 40 and above, we lose 80% of our creativity, and we laugh less than 5 times a day. Interesting, huh? Think about that. Okay? I know I have a lot of friends, I'll say, come on, laugh it up a little bit. Enjoy life. Oh, what's there to laugh about? Life sucks, No, have fun. Enjoy life. There's a lot of funny things out there, And like I say, don't listen to other people's opinions. I was talking to somebody about Charlie Chaplin a while back, saying, don't listen to other people's opinions. The idea is one time Charlie Chaplin, true story, one time Charlie Chaplin went to a Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest, came in 3rd. Go figure, right? Judges thought somebody looked more like Charlie Chaplin than him, right? Than Charlie Chaplin himself. So think about that. There's funny things to think about in life all the time. I told you I was a veteran. Today's Veterans Day. A lot of crazy stuff happened. I remember when I first went in the Army, they give you all these tests and everything, academic tests, all kinds of tests and everything to see what you're best suited for. I remember one time they gave me a psychology test or something. I sat across from this psychiatrist. He said, okay, son, here's the problem. You're cut off from your outfit. You're in the middle of combat. You're all by yourself. All of a sudden you hear a noise. You look up and there's this enemy tank coming straight at you. What are you going to do? And I sat there and I said, easy. I'm going to blow it up with my anti-tank gun. He said, where did you get that? I said, same place you got the tank. What do you think? Right? You got to think about that. It's absolutely amazing. You know, and then I went in, I was in the service during the Vietnam era, and it was interesting because, you know, right away they give you this big pep talk, you know, your country needs you. You know, they say, son, there's a bad war going on in Vietnam now, and we need every able-bodied, intelligent soldier. And then they sent me to Germany. So I thought that was interesting. As a matter of fact, they assured me the boat I'd be going over on would be related to the Queen Mary. And I thought that was pretty good. And so I went on the boat, and it was related to the Queen Mary. It was called the King Kong. I'm not kidding. That boat was so crowded, we had to take turns breathing. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. I remember my head was hanging over the rail every minute of the way. I remember one time some officer walked up and he said, soldier, has the brigadier been up yet? I looked at him and I said, sir, if I ate it, it's been up. Trust me. It's amazing. Yeah. Of course, you can't blame it on the food. You don't get that much to eat, right? Yeah. I remember after one meal, the cook was taking a survey. We're come walking out, you know, and he looks at me and he goes, soldier, what did you think of your steak? I said, what? He said, how did you find your steak? I said, by surprise. I moved a potato and there it was. What do you think? Yeah. And the clothing. I don't know about you guys, any of you veterans out there and stuff, but I'm a confirmed believer in the fact that the American Army only has two sizes, too large and too small. I don't have to tell you what size they gave me. Let's face it, I'm no giant. I'm 5'6", right? Yeah, they gave me an entire issue of extra large clothing. Yeah, and just to give you an idea of a visual of how it happened, you know, when I was in basic training, I remember I used to do a complete about face, and my clothes wouldn't even move. Extra large clothing, right? Yeah, of course, I wasn't the only guy. My poor buddy Stretch, they gave this guy an entire issue of extra large clothing too. And to give you an idea how skinny this guy was, when he took a shower, he had to jump around to get wet. Extra large, right? We got another question coming up. I am always being me because I believe we are all created uniquely. Should I continue to be like this? Amazing, amazing. It helps me develop the real me. Oh, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Okay? That's so important. We are all so unique, and the neat thing is we are needed with our uniqueness. Okay? We are needed with our uniqueness. If you take a German cuckoo clock, for example, and it's tick-tock, humming along like a nice little machine. They're beautiful the way they're, you know, put together and everything. If you open up all the insides, take out all the parts and lay them on a table or something, and you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you find out, let's say there's 17 parts. Okay, big gears, little gears, wires, springs, all these different parts. Okay, when they're put together, they make this beautiful cuckoo clock, right? But if you say, okay, there are 17 parts to this cuckoo clock, and then you take one of them and you say, I'm going to make a cuckoo clock, and you make 17 copies of this particular gear or spring or whatever it is. So you have 17 parts and you put it together now, it's not going to work. It's not going to be a cuckoo clock because they're all the same. But if you take all these 17 different parts and put them together, it's going to hum. It's going to be a beautiful cuckoo clock because it takes the difference, the divergency, the differentness in order for it to work together and harmonize in perfect order. That's how this world was meant to be. Ideally, we each are unique. And if we can work together with our uniqueness, what a wonderful world this would be. It would hum, it would harmonize. But so many of us, and again, I blame Madison Avenue on a lot of this with commercials and things, so many of us tried to be like the other guy. We tried to keep up with the Joneses. We try to be like him or be like her and not ourselves. How sad. Isn't it about time you be authentic? Isn't it about time you realize how beautiful and wonderful and intelligent you are? You know, there's this old poem written by a woman that says, when I'm old, I'm going to wear purple. And I think that's the title of the poem or something. And it's really cool because basically what she's alluding to, she's saying, by the time I get old, I don't care what other people think. I'm going to wear what I want to wear. And that's, I say, good for you. way to go. But don't wait till you're old, be true to yourself. A wise man once said that, right? Shakespeare. Obviously, he was a literary genius, but he also was a great philosopher. To thine own self, be true. Okay? Learn to honor yourself. Say no when you mean no. Say yes when you mean yes. Learn to become your own best friend. That's what life's all about. Wallow in your uniqueness. Know that you are special. Okay? Know that you have things to share with the world. They don't have to be monumental things. Okay? They don't have to be great things. As they say, if you can't do great things, do little things in a great way. Okay? Like they say too, sometimes I'm trying to figure how this saying goes or something like that. You may be only one person in the world, but to somebody, you are their world. Okay? So think about that. We do make a difference. People say, well, I'm a nobody. What do I do? I can't affect anything. You can, just by helping another person to have a better way of life, a happier life, or whatever. You're changing the world. Okay? Because if you took, let's say you took a beach ball, okay, and you packed it with ball bearings the size of marbles, and this thing was crammed with ball bearings, so it's just jam-packed with these ball bearings, and you took one more ball bearing and you shoved it in some way, you are affecting every single other ball bearing in there, okay? You don't realize that, but everything you do affects, vis-a-vis ripple affects this world, okay? And as the Dalai Lama said, he said, we don't need more successful people. What this planet desperately needs are more peacemakers, more healers, more restorers, more storytellers and lovers of all kinds. Wouldn't this world be a beautiful place if we had more of them, more of you being all you could be? Go for it. Again, don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid of the unknown, because that's where success lies. And failure is part of success. It's an inherent part of success. Any more questions? Up. Thank you. I have some beautiful comments. People like the book and everything else. One person says this book is amazing. It helps me to develop the real me. Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you so much. Again, I'm not trying to teach anything or force my ideas on anybody else. I'm trying to share, okay? Because when you get down to it, nobody can teach us anything. We teach ourselves, okay? We learn what we choose to learn. Another question. Let's see. Oh, we're just about out of time here, okay? All right. It's been a real honor talking with you. Today's Veterans Day. If you see a veteran, thank him for his service. Again, freedom isn't free, okay? I had a lot of friends who I was with in the Army and stuff who never came back, and I'm forever indebted for their service. And it's interesting. We're all in this together. Keep that in mind, okay? Try to make people smile. Try to make your contacts with other human beings a little bit better each time. That's what life's all about. Everything we do in life is either life-giving or life-taking. Let's try to make it life-giving for each other. Okay? Again, thank you very much for sharing this time with me. You're beautiful people. Remember, if you wake up and you're breathing, you still have stuff to do. Thank you so much. I'm Joseph GIAMPAPA. The website, whatIwillican.com. Check it out, okay? Don't take my word for it. Listen to other people, their commentaries, the ones that are using the books. See how it helps them. I hope it'll help you, and I hope you have a beautiful day. I'm honored to know that we're connecting, okay? Learn to love, learn to laugh, learn to live truly, authentically. Thank you. Any last minute questions? Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. I'm looking, I'm waiting. Okay. Well, thank you. I see some beautiful comments here. People are enjoying the book, and that's wonderful. You can get these books either on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or most specifically, I recommend whatiwill.ican.com, because there's a lot more information on there about self-actualization from other people, actual commentaries. And it's not just here. Some of these books have gone around the world. I heard from a guy in Scotland who's using the book, really enjoys it, a lady in Brazil. And let's face it, we're all in this together. So let's share. Okay? That's what life's all about. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Again, if you want to talk to me personally through email or anything, my email is joe@josephgiampapa.com. Okay? Thank you very much. And I'll be around again. I think I'm coming back on Friday. So what is it? Tomorrow. I'll be back here tomorrow. So we'll be talking a lot about the same stuff. So if you're into self-actualization, if you want to be all you can be, by all means, join us. As some of the great people once said, you know, that every stranger is just a friend I haven't met yet. And so that's what this is all. That's what this is all about. I love people. I love talking with people. I love communicating with people. So feel free to send me a message vis-a-vis email or whatever, and we'll talk and chat. And let's share ideas. We're all going through life together, right? Let's help each other. Okay. Anything else? Thank you very much. I think we wrap this one up. It's been good talking to you. And I hope you view some of the other authors. We have some wonderful authors here. Take care. Thank you.